What is this? Church music?
Yeah, this is definitely church music. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, that's hymn number 731, Abide With Me.
Ah, yes, lads. Today is a special day. Today be the blessed day of the Holy St. Patrick. And as is custom, we're going to be spending the day focused on his teachings of the gospel throughout the old country of beautiful Ireland.
And here we go.
Who am I kidding? Welcome to the St. Paddy's Day episode, where we are Americans celebrating the patron saint of Ireland, who was actually a Welshman that got rid of all the snakes in the Emerald Isle.
No
and we're
snakes!
celebrating today by getting ourselves absolutely face drunk on whiskey, scotch, bourbons, and green beer. We are loaded up, dressed in our best shades of green for the occasion, and tonight we are going to get lost in a sea of shamrocks discussing the brief history of St. Patrick's Day. And then we're going to talk about some of our favorite Irish songs and favorite Irish movies. Joining us tonight is the host of the Addressing Gettysburg podcast. He is a good friend of ours, and like myself, he is a bit of a fellow Irishman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show for the very first time as a full-featured guest, Matthew Callery!
Howdy, Patty. How are you? Should I say, hello, Patty Bye?
Can you do better than that?
I can't.
You can't do better than that.
I don't do an Irish accent.
I just feel like when we were on your show, you had a really good convincing Irish accent.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
No,
You did. And
no.
it made me, it was very few times that when people do Irish accents, it makes me feel like mine is utter shite, which it is. It is. For all you out there in the good old Emerald Isle, I'm sorry.
I think it's better than the one I do. When I do them, I tend to sound like an Indian. And it goes in between Indian and Irish, and I'm not good at it at all.
That is the weirdest combination of accents.
I know. I know.
Well, thank you for joining us, Matt. I am sorry you had to suffer through that little bit of shtick, because,
That's not a shtick.
I could feel Matt's eyes rolling there.
Matt's a very serious historian. He doesn't like shtick. I know every time I have him on my show, I make him endorse something stupid because I just love to see his reaction.
It's
we do the
funny
same thing
that
here.
You use the term shtick because I absolutely used that term just the other day when chatting with Pat about the show.
You got to keep it light. You got to keep it light. The other day I made a joke about me only kind of making movie jokes, and Matt was like, "Oh God." So anyway, don't worry. We are getting to the movie jokes and the movie quotes and the movie references at some point tonight. So as we talked about, we are going to get to some of our favorite Irish film and music, and in no real structure. We're just going to kind of meander through that. But let's start with you, bud. It is St. Paddy's Day. I noticed you got a water. Are you driving? Are you driving the show
I'm driving.
tonight?
If I had a driver, I would be partaking with you. But
So you're designated for the show then. So you're driving us.
I'm driving all of you to wherever
Yes.
we're going next.
Yes.
Yes. To
There
a
are
wild.
no roads where we're going.
Damn you. Is that what we're
We're
doing?
going to shut it down. So how have you been, man? It's been a while since I've seen you in person. Obviously we talk. There's a lot going on in your world. Where do we start?
Well, there's a lot. First of all, there's a lot going on in yours, and congratulations on the birth of your second child.
I did all the work. Make sure that my wife knows that.
Well, we all know that means that you've at least had sex twice in your life.
Twice.
And so that's
Twice.
good. At least that's 2 times more than me.
St. Paddy's Day is a good time to go out there and find love, Matt.
That's true. Maybe I'll have to do it. See, I'm not going to be able to because obviously we're recording this beforehand. That weekend,
So
I
you're
have a
free
show.
that week.
Huh?
It's so you're free during
That's why.
St.
That's why.
Patrick's
So
Day.
you can go do this.
Well, I'm not. No, I know, but I have a show on the 18th.
Cancel it.
And I wish I could. I get nervous.
Everybody thinks Valentine's Day is the holiday of love. It's really St. Patrick's Day. Everybody goes
lust.
out.
It's lust.
But it's spelled the same.
But Irish people call lust love.
They're not the same.
Well, to Irish people,
They are
it's
definitely
one and
the
the same.
same.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Until the lust wears off and we realize I don't love you, and then
That's why Irish songs are so sad.
oh, it's terrible.
One of the many reasons. It could be oppression. It could be famine. It could be loveless marriages. Who knows? We'll get into all that tonight.
It's the original country music.
It's going to be
It
a
is.
really up episode, folks. Obviously, you can
Yeah,
tell.
dude, high energy. Did you
Yeah,
hear
we're
that
gonna have
intro?
fun.
We started in church, and then we went
I know, that
to
was
some
cool. I got to tell you, that was a very good production piece, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
very good.
We submitted it to the Academy Awards, and we should just get an Oscar for it. Even though it's not a film, it's just so
Doesn't
good.
matter. They should just give it to you.
Right award.
Dude, they got to give it to us. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are no rules. Back to you though, bud. What have you been up to, man? What's going on in the Addressing Gettysburg world?
Well,
Matt Calorie, as you want to share.
As you know, the incomparable Eric, the producer, has left us. He's moved up to St. Mary's, Pennsylvania,
Yes.
his hometown, and he's thriving. He's doing very well.
He was just posting today about some of his wares.
Yeah, and let me tell you something about, if I may, plug our friend
By all
Eric's.
means.
You may
Okay,
not.
thank you.
I'm just kidding.
Vendettam & Co. is the name of his little business that he started here, making leather goods. In fact, I have here, it's of my own design. I had him
Please,
do.
model.
It is the John Wayne belt. You see, I have.
I got a good one
look
too.
At that, right?
That's nice.
And this is the third of 3 belts that I bought from him. And then I have, the Lano Atlas.
You got the bag? Yeah, the Atlas
That was
bag.
the first one I got. I have this here. I have a card holder. I love his stuff. Anybody who can make something with their own. See this cartridge box?
That's sharp.
And but it's a business card holder. You open it up, and then there's business cards in there.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's really creative, very talented with this, and it's quality stuff. It's quality leather and quality work. Vendettam & Co.
Yeah, I've obliged. I got a belt I use when I do living history.
Yeah.
I also
I've
there's
got an
a
NCO's belt from him.
I remember when he was making that.
there's
Yes.
a cool belt buckle in the Maryland Park Service that you obviously can't wear your park gear when you're not doing park things. But I wanted to have like a sweet state of Maryland belt buckle, so he looked up to like 1855 Maryland militia belt buckle and was like, boom. So now, like when I do wear non-sweet sweatpants, because now that I'm in the off season in the winter, I don't think I left my sweatpants for like 2 months. But when I wear normal people pants, I got this really dope belt buckle from Vendettam & Co. So,
Nice. Yeah. No,
all of
so
us
he's
wearing
very
it.
good. But so since he left, it was a little bit of an adjustment for me because, see, look, here's the thing. I hate
You had to work.
scheduling. Yeah, I had to work. and I hate scheduling. I hate the back and forth emails trying to find the time and everything like that. But I didn't have to do that for very long.
why we hired Parker.
Our friend Dave Bussier, who you may know him from TR Historical.
Oh, we know Dave quite well.
Yes, you do actually, and he and I talked last year about just things that we wanted to do and maybe eventually working together. And he was going through some personal things, and he's like, "Well, let me get through this stuff, and then we'll reconnect." And I had totally forgotten about the conversation, and then. He called me, I want to say it was October or November or something. He goes, okay, everything's squared away. I can work with you if you want. And I was like, perfect timing because Eric's leaving and I need someone to book me, schedule me because I just, I have everything. Because you understand this, Patrick.
Yeah.
You wear all the hats,
Yes.
right? You edit, you create, you
I wear some of the hats now. Now, most of the hats. Before I did wear all of them, but now we've learned how to delegate. I've learned how to not be such a control freak because that's what I am.
Yes.
I am a control freak.
And I am too in this regard. And after a while, I started realizing that I was ready to quit because I was doing everything and I was like exhausted. Like last winter, I got to the season was over, ends October 31st or November. Well, it ends around Remembrance Day, which is middle November.
Right.
And then after that, as soon as my brain was aware that it was over, it just shut down for 3 months. I got nothing done last winter. I couldn't force myself to do anything.
I can relate.
Luckily, the way everything works out, I was able to do it and not starve and get kicked out of the house. I could still pay all my bills and everything like that. But it was just too much.
So your OnlyFans is just for fun then?
Yeah,
so you don't need that to live then?
That's where I make my money.
Wow.
That's how I support the podcast.
Wow.
People think it's Patreon, but it's really
wow.
selling feet pictures on
I knew
OnlyFans.
it. I knew there was something to that.
Those are great, by the way. Keep those coming.
Thank you very much.
Those are great.
Hairy Knuckles on OnlyFans. That's what it's
Parker's
called.
your biggest fan.
I'm that $100 supporter.
No, I know. I
Yeah.
recognize you. Yeah.
I tried to disguise myself.
Oh my
No, it
God.
doesn't. Well, your screen name is Parker. Parker.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I'm sorry. It's Parker History Things 01. So
Yeah.
obviously it's you.
It really
I usually
is.
sign it as Matt Borders, though. So
Dude, I can relate to the sort of taking some time off and just completely checking out. I had some surgery, still some surgery. You might be able to hear it in the way I'm talking right now.
Yeah,
So I just had some surgery just to get some things right. But for a while, we knew this was coming, so we batch recorded like crazy.
Okay.
And so then we did nothing from like middle of November until like, I don't know, a month ago was when we did our first like coming out of hibernation. And I was like, I don't know how to do my own show.
Right.
Like I forgot how to do it,
Yes.
and it was like
And you kind of get nervous.
yeah, and like getting on the horse to like do things I do all the time. So we've had a series of guests, and recently, and I'm like I'm nervous, and I'm never nervous. Like you're one of my friends coming over, and I'm like why am I this? Like because it's like
Not just because we're friends.
no,
Big star here.
All right, let's be real.
That's true.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
We'll talk about your star status here in a few minutes.
That's coming up,
No,
folks.
obviously.
But everything, anyway, to answer
I
your
relate
question
to
in
that.
short, yeah, everything is good. Thank you for asking.
He doesn't want to talk about it anymore.
Dave has booked me like the whole. Let's see. 1 week in February, I did 8 shows. I recorded 8 shows. Damn. Well, we figured it out. See,
in a week or a day?
In a week.
Okay, I was like in a day. I was
No,
like,
it was
what?
2 a day for 4 days. And then it's been about that, somewhere between 3 and 8 shows a week that I've been doing for the last month. And that's good because I like to have a stockpile. And
Yeah.
so Dave had me, he's keeping me organized, he's getting me organized. And so he's like asking me questions, and I'm like, he's like, how many shows do you do in a year? I'm like, if I know, I don't know. And I said, well, let's think about it. We do 2 Ask a Guides, and I do 4 Patreon episodes. Then I do 4 live streams. And I said, let's not count the live streams. So the Patreon, so we counted up as 72 episodes a year is what we do at Addressing Gettysburg.
Like on average, like as you're
No,
guaranteed
that's the
to get?
minimum.
That's
That's the
what I
minimum.
mean. Like that's
Yeah.
what you're guaranteed to
That's
get.
impressive.
Wow.
That's what I tell people we're going to put out.
Don't get any ideas.
No, I'm not. In fact, if you go back, I forget which episode of ours we say it on, but I make a specific reference to like some friends of ours who do shows like way more regularly than us. We'll take the veil off that. Like I was talking about you and just how frequently you put out shows. And just like I was like, it wears me out watching how frequently you put out stuff.
But you have other things going on in your life. This is all I do.
I do?
I don't have a wife. I don't have kids.
I have children.
You have children. I just saw them upstairs when I went to pee. They were playing on the
This
floor.
is my house.
Yes. So
This is your studio.
It's
How
like
did I get here?
it's like
There you go, Parker.
you have to kind of I've always thought that I have to be happy with doing whatever it is I do for a living
Right.
before I can find happiness in anything else. And it took me far too long to get to that point, but I got here.
Right.
And so along the way, I didn't pick up kids. I didn't pick up a wife. I tried.
Well, definitely
but
don't pick up kids. Have them, because I find if you pick them up, the parents will get very upset.
People, yes, have issues.
you
with
know
that.
what I mean?
They will get very mad.
I didn't accidentally make some kids.
Sir, and you're like, oh, these are not mine. Sorry.
Right. And then, so, I mean, it's different. You're like, this is all I have to work with. But even still, it gets tiring because, people come in on the weekends, they come to visit, and I get an email, hey, I'm coming in this weekend. I'd love to buy you dinner. Well, I feel like that's part of my job is to meet with these people because they support me.
All right,
these are patrons.
So this is a
something
good
to say
time to
for
bring
that.
this up. So you're not just the host of Addressing Gettysburg.
No,
and I figured
the
this
mayor.
out. You are the mayor. I wanted to get to this. Like, who's the actual mayor?
Of Gettysburg?
Yeah, do you know them?
Rita Freeland. Yeah, she's going to come on the show in a
Does
couple
she
weeks.
know that you actually are
She
about to
doesn't
supplant
know.
her?
No, she doesn't know. I like to do subterfuge.
You're
so-
the power behind the throne.
Yes,
She'll-
exactly
well,
the term.
Yeah, it'll dawn on everybody sooner or later.
Because I've been around while you're doing the mayor thing, and it's impressive. I mean, you're quite a politician.
What do you mean?
We were at Mason-Dixon,
Yeah.
shout out, where you had like, I don't know, I can't handle like 3 people that I like that I know at the same time, and you had
I got
like
you.
30, maybe 20 to 30 people that are like
It's been
fans and
courts,
friends.
sir.
It has been a while since you've been there.
You were like doing the Godfather thing, and,
Yeah.
like, but it's like
Right.
man, whew.
You come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it has been a while, though, because we, last time, the last tour we had in October, we had 105 people on the tour. and about 50 of them came to the Farnsworth house with us afterwards because we go to lunch after each tour.
Matt and I went to one that was a pretty big one for you, and it was like, but you were like, this is big because we're doing X, like filming or whatever. Like, is that your regular now?
Right. Okay. That was for the Today Show when we were filming.
Yeah.
That was October 2021.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So we had 76 people. I think it was because A, it was the last tour of the year. B, we were going to be on the Today Show. But we started April of the next year with 62 people. And then by the time we got to the end of that year, we had 80, I think. And then we started last year with 83. We maintained about 80 to 83. And then October came and we had 105.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it is awesome.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And those are free tours. I wish they were paid.
How does that
Pass the hat.
How does that make you feel? Like, seeing something like that, like an idea you had, you see it hit the field, be kind of immediately successful, and then like grow.
Yeah,
and also see people try to imitate it.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
We can talk about that if you want.
That part. Well, I mean, just in a general sense, because I don't know who you're referring to, but there are a lot of people that come along and try to do the same thing. And we all do the same thing. I'm not doing anything unique.
We are. We're the world champs.
Matt
Matt hates us, but we're the only people claiming we're the world champs of podcasting. Thus, the belt is right there, Matt.
Oh, there it is.
You want to challenge? You want to go?
No,
brother.
No, you can have the belt. I'll just have the numbers.
That's probably very true.
No, we hit a million. We hit 1 million downloads last year.
Holy crap!
Total downloads.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Wait, where were you? I thought you knew this.
We're not under rock here.
I know.
We're literally underground right now.
That's true. We are.
I get the Patreon emails, but I don't recall hearing that stat.
That's
was amazing.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Well, you know what, Matt? We're doing our own show, so we might have missed it.
That's true. You're too busy. I can't expect. Well, and that's true. But Pat, I can't expect you to keep up with. I can't keep up with you guys. I can't keep up with anybody else because I'm doing my own thing.
All we do down here is just make movie references and make Matt get upset. And I don't even know why we're doing this show anymore.
Because you're having fun with it. That's why.
We're actually doing. We're coming up. We're doing bigger and better things every year. So like you, we're growing. We are a bit more spread out because one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, I guess, asking you, like, as now that we're all seasoned podcast hosts, like,
veterans.
What's it like when the backbone of your show is built around a single entity, like like the war is so much bigger. And this has obviously become a well-known gripe of mine that people that like the Civil War get stuck on 3 Days in July.
Yes.
But like, the basis of your show are just those three, because you do a very good job of tying in the beginnings and afters, but like essentially the meat and potatoes of what people want to do is July 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And it's like you've created this Walt Disney-esque, universe where like you have guide tours, you have like.
It's funny you say Disney.
Oh yeah,
because I've
been watching Walt Disney documentaries. Big inspiration.
I'm waiting for Matt to show up on. You're watching Disney Channel. I'm not Calorie. You're watching Disney Channel.
Yeah, right. I'm not going near those perverts.
Oh god.
No. So here's the thing. Disney. When we started this, so now this is not my first podcast. This is the first one that worked. Okay. I started in 2008, and I chipped away and kept doing other shows, and I learned how to use the equipment and how to edit and all that crap, and also just how to speak in a microphone and talk to people and things, which I've always been good at. But you have to.
Well, there's an art to this.
Yeah, there is.
Kind of do it right.
Skill.
Yeah, and so when it was coming time to do this, my best friend Pete and I were talking about it, and I forgot where I was going with this. What was your question?
I was asking, like, just what, how do you, I brought up the fact that you have built out of essentially a 3-day hellfire on Earth
Disney.
into this massive thing that Addressing Gettysburg is now.
Right.
And it's so much more than just talking about the fight.
Correct. Disney, right. So we always cringed at adult Disney fans, Pete and I. Okay? Are you one?
In a way.
You're looking at me like...
In a way. I had a look, I was there recently with my family. The nostalgia
different.
was real.
That's totally different.
I can't wait to go back.
Okay, now you're getting creepy.
I don't have the tattoo yet. No.
No, I'll give you an example. My cousin and Pete's sister, two different people, they're both Disney fans, right? My cousin will post something in, say, November, and she's going to go in April, and she'll be like, just 6 months, 3 days, 12 hours, and 30 minutes until our next trip to Disney, right? And then every once in a while, she'll post a picture of their last trip and missing my favorite place on earth, missing the happiest place, just really.
And they love her for that.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah. And then Pete's sister used to sell vacations to people like my cousin, right?
Wow.
For Disney. And so, but it's not, she's not an employee of Disney. It's like a multi-level marketing scheme type of thing, right? So anyway, we're saying Gettysburg people are the same.
Oh, 100%.
And we know this because we're two of them, right? And so we're like, so Pete's like, when you move down there, do Instagram videos, do pictures, because people want to be there. So bring it to them. And I was like, you're absolutely right. So that's what I started doing. And that helped it a lot because, so I'm tapping into because it already is, people call it the Disney World of battlefields.
I mean, yes.
Because it is. I mean, it's like you got McDonald's there. You got all this, schlocky stuff.
Yes, Steinway Avenue
and
defines a lot of the town.
Can wander down the street at any moment, it seems.
Yeah. So, your point about it being Disney, so we're tapping into that, but it's all the other stuff you talk, like the tours that we do and everything. The Disney perspective that we have is more like, okay, well, this is how we're going to get attention, how we're going to get people to come to us. But when they come to us, you still have to have something, right?
You recognize what they want. Like Disney people want to be there. They can't always be there. So that's why you do regular movies or regular products, things like just something to bring people to the place.
Even your shots of wandering around downtown.
They love it. People, right. And or just driving around on a snowy day or a sunny day and just talking in the car. People like that crap. So, yeah, I don't know. I there's that, and then the tours. I believe that you've got to teach people because I love learning about this stuff. Sure. I love. I get it. I still get chills when I learn a new fact. Right. I'm not bored with it yet. I will be probably eventually, but I'm not yet. And so I love to learn, and then I love to share what I've learned because I know if it gives me some kind of a chill, it'll give someone else a kind of a chill. Sure. The problem now, though, is this is such a dark. See, at first you watch the movie Gettysburg or something like that, right? And the pageantry and the romance and the sweeping music and all this stuff, and it tells me how to feel and it works and everything like that. But then when you really get into studying it and you realize that it's destroyed lives, and it's not just the destroyed lives on the battlefield, it's the relatives who lost that guy on the battlefield back home. So how many lives does
the
one
lives
death?
Of the people cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Oh, that too, or the people who had to take care of these guys
in 3 days.
Yeah.
And how many families and everything else does that shatter? Absolutely.
Exactly. So that it gets depressing actually for me. Like I'm starting to be like everything is death, and it's like it's depressing. So so now I've just been watching nothing but comedies.
That's why I do all the side stuff I do, between, we cover obviously more than just the Civil War. And every time we get into the First World War, I get bummed out.
Yeah.
I'm
God.
working on that project I'm writing about. And it's like every time I feel like I get stuck in the mud with these guys and I'm like, obviously, nothing in my experience relates to theirs at all, but I feel like I just vicariously or sympathize or whatever, and it wrecks me.
You're right. What was that? I asked you on that movie, All Quiet on the Western Front, that they just did on Netflix, right? We were talking about that, right?
Yes.
You like that, right?
Yeah. All right. Since I'm on record, on my microphone's running here, on the new All Quiet on the Western Front, here's my succinct summation. If you were looking for my take on it as a third film adaptation of the book, it sucks.
Right.
If you forget that they tried to do that from the book that we love and the other films we love, and you just go, hey, this is an end of the war German side of the wire film, I thought it was incredible. I thought it captured all the emotions that the German army goes through with futility and uselessness and just pointless death, and
the material culture is excellent.
Yeah, like the physical, the stuff that you can see, and
the combat scenes are brutal.
Like the movie is incredible,
as they should be.
But because it's all quiet and it's supposed to be the book, they failed tremendously. So for me, I choose to just go, okay, the names are familiar and that's a coincidence. I'm sure there's multiple Paul Baumers in Germany, so maybe this isn't the same one. That's what my brain tells me. So anyway,
no, but it's really good. But yeah, so it is like I remember watching that and I was a little And when I get that way, I feel every emotion intensely, and so that's why I only watch comedies, because if I watch, and I made the mistake of watching that movie, and I was literally on my bed curled up in a ball with my fists clenched when in that scene when they're in the bunker during the first barrage there, right?
That's very fair.
And I was like, I was there with these guys, and then with the tanks and just the whole thing.
What about at the end when you think it's over, and then that tiny little bayonet just comes right through?
Oh,
and you're
God,
like,
I know.
I think that is one of the very few times I was like, no!
Yeah.
I knew it was coming, but I still was like,
It has that setup that movies have where you like they make you think everything's good and you know something's going to come out of somewhere, right? But that was awful. But anyway, to answer your question, though, about doing a show about one thing.
Yes.
Okay. So Gettysburg, you have 150,000 total soldiers who were there. That's 150,000 stories. Not all of them have been recorded.
Not even close.
But there's still a lot of stories, right? But moreover, I think the Civil War is the most important period in our nation's history, because without it, we would not be who we are today. And a lot of things are not resolved from the Civil War. So it's important that people learn about it. But schools aren't teaching it well or at all. And so, and everybody's going to their phones. Right. And so I figured, okay, well, I love Gettysburg. I'm going to move back to Gettysburg. I miss it. I just have to do this. I want to learn about the war through Gettysburg. So Scott Hartwig, who you had on, I see from the Wall of Fame there. Mm-hmm. When I had him on, he was the first guy I interviewed for Dressing Gettysburg.
It's weirdly intimidating and weirdly magical to sit there and listen to him talk about the battle.
Well, I busted his balls because when he was working at the park, before I moved away, because I lived in Gettysburg until 2000, from 05 to 10.
Right.
They put out a call for auditions. They were doing a video, right, for the Park Service. And I went in and I auditioned and I practiced just a couple of lines. I practiced really hard and I'm uncomfortable with auditions, but I'm like, I'm going to do this. And Scott's one of the people standing in judgment of me, and I didn't get the part. And so when I finally had him on, I'm like, you probably don't remember me, but I remember you.
He's like, I do, and you suck.
He's like,
your audition was terrible.
You're the worst actor ever. But no, so he goes,
why am I even here?
I'm only here to tell you that. I got to go.
I don't have time for your interview. So I had him on to talk about his book, A Killer Angel's Companion.
Right.
And we get to talk about that in the movie and everything. And he says a line in there that I later stole and used in a Gary Edelman video, which will be out in October. And I said, the movie Gettysburg, and he said this, the movie Gettysburg is the gateway drug to the Battle of Gettysburg, which is the gateway drug to the Civil War.
Yeah.
So I hope that people that listen to the show listen to it because they're interested in Gettysburg, and that's the most recognizable name from the Civil War. But if they go and become a patron, for example, we have a little hookup with the University of North Carolina Press, and they send me books, and they're about the Civil War in general, all different aspects of it. So I have them on, the authors, to come on and talk about whatever it is, and it's through there. So here we have Gettysburg, and the free stuff is all Gettysburg, the Battle of Gettysburg. But then if you're one of the smart people out there and you become a patron, then you get a...
Did you hear the wink to the microphone, guys? You're supposed to sign up right there. Go right now and sign up. Patreon.com/addressing. Yeah. But if you go over there, then you're going to... There's more battle stuff, but it's more in-depth and more focused, but also it's just Civil War in general. Yeah.
And the people who get it are very complimentary, and it's working like what we set out to do. It's very nice to hear your own ideas that you never spoke but you put into practice come back to you in words that other people write. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, that's so cool, because that's exactly what I was hoping people would say. So it's like That's good.
This show is very humbling for us in that regard too. Like when we get to do something and people receive it well and they tell you about it.
And I got to tell you, I know a lot of our listeners listen to your show because they tell me.
They're like, dude, these guys are amateurs, Matt. They need to quit.
They do. They say, can you give them a class?
I'm talking to my Matt. I'm talking you guys are the amateurs. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what happens when there's two Matts
I
in a
was
room.
waiting for that. I was like, how can I do this? No, I was kidding. We're the amateurs.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, we all are amateurs. That's
No, we're the world champions. Back
Jesus.
to this. God damn.
the world champion amateurs.
Amateur wrestling, of
Bush
course.
League.
When Matt, yes, that's the most hardcore thing Matt's going to say on the show all season.
Bush League.
Oh man. Oh man.
But it's good, and it's led to a lot of interesting things for me personally too.
Cool.
So yeah, that's nice.
Well, tell us about one of these personal things that's happened. That's pretty cool because I've seen that you've been able to add some sort of film work now to your resume.
Your extensive resume.
I thought this was a face for radio thing. You're on camera
Yes,
now.
I
You're
know.
working with cameras now.
You know, gorgeous man. Yeah, people want to look at you.
You're right. You're right. So tell us about.
Don't go googling me. I'm not gorgeous.
Tell
folks.
us about a Gettysburg Christmas.
Okay, so a Gettysburg Christmas.
On our St. Patrick's Day show.
Yes, I know.
yeah. Before we, because listen,
I
we're going
promise
to
we're gonna
get
get there.
to the Irish stuff. All right,
Right.
don't worry, people.
Yeah,
We're going to
cha-cha.
get to the Irish stuff.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms. No, so the Gettysburg Christmas. Okay, so this story starts with my friend Chris Webb. She is a longtime friend of Bo Brinkman, who played Major Taylor in the movie Gettysburg. Years ago, she called him and she was like, Bo, people in Gettysburg keep saying, they've been saying for years, we need another movie. And you're the only person I know who can do this. You can make him another movie. And Bo,
Really? Bo Brink? Why is he the only one?
because she knew him.
Okay.
She didn't know any other person in the business.
I was like,
Yeah,
she's
no.
like, Bo.
It's not like
gotta
she has
be you.
Steven Spielberg's phone number, like.
I was like, wow.
But Bo loves Gettysburg, so that's another thing. So anyway, so Bo knows baseball. Bo knows football. But remember that? Or are you
I
too
was going
young?
to say, because
I
are you
really
about to
appreciate-
compare Bo Brinkman to the legendary Bo Jackson?
Yes.
I'm just glad that he said it because I was thinking it as he
I know.
was saying it.
I know somebody was going to say it, so I had to do it. Anyway, Bo knows the film industry well enough to know that they're not going to make another Civil War movie, at least another battle-based movie,
Not for a
if
long
time.
not for a
Scale.
long time.
Yeah.
So if they ever do, it's going to. If they ever make a Civil War movie, it's going to be about typically something to do with slavery or something like that, right?
It'll be like Free State of Jones.
Yeah, exactly. So, the war is the backdrop for the story.
Right.
Your microphone fell below your thing there. Yeah.
Oh, man.
There you go.
I got it. I got you there, little feller. Got you.
So he saw a story, a little novel, romance novel, actually, by a local guy. He's not local anymore. He moved away, but a guy named Craig Rupp. And it's called A Gettysburg Christmas. And so Bo adapted it into a script. And originally it was going to be for Hallmark. But Hallmark was
It sounds like a Hallmark title.
Yes. Hallmark was like, well, does it have to be in Gettysburg? Can it just be a generic small town? And can we shoot it in, Montreal or wherever the hell they shoot up in Canada? And he goes, no, I'm doing this for Gettysburg. So it's got to be shot in Gettysburg. It takes place in Gettysburg. The places that we're going to go to in the movie are real, blah, blah, blah. So they said, okay, forget it. And so he said, fine, I'm just going to do this anyway. So through a series of events, he found a guy to foot the bill for the whole movie.
Wow.
And he got,
Good
he got,
salesman work.
yeah, he and a little bit of luck too. He just happened to be working. He was working on another movie, not even as a director. I think he was working in the props department, and he just started talking to the financier and told him that I also write and direct films, and and the guy's like, really? And they talk more, and the guy's like, I want to foot the bill for the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So nobody ever comes along and does that for me.
Yeah.
Your time's coming. Your time's
Yes,
coming.
sure, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. What, when I'm 65? I don't have that time. Anyway, the point is that we got to do it. Now, Bo came on the show a lot to promote it and try to get the audience behind it. But I was surprised, actually, that the audience was not as behind it as I thought. I mean, I knew that they would be like, why is a Battle of Gettysburg podcast talking about a Christmas movie? Why are you promoting a Christmas movie, right?
Did you get a lot of those comments?
No.
Okay,
But I assumed I would.
They were all from me. The ones he
Damn,
did
it's all
get.
Pat.
Matt only has one hater. It's me. I just change my screen name
He just
every
has
couple of
6
days.
different screen names. Yeah. So anyway, it's going to happen, and so we're talking about, where's Waldoing me in all the crowd scenes, right? So that I could go to the listeners. Hey, go make sure you go watch it, and look for me. I'm in a different outfit every time. I got my beard different, whatever. You're talking about dental work.
Yeah.
The day they start shooting, I had a horrible toothache, and I had to go to the dentist. I go to the dentist, and he says,
I can't see you right now. I'm actually an extra in a movie.
yeah. No, he's like, he's like, I've drilled through most of the decay, and I'm almost at the root. And he goes, you either need a root canal or we could just pull it. And
I wasn't prepared for this part of the episode. Not
sorry.
gonna lie, I'm very queasy right now.
No, well, you just wait. So I said, well, no, you're not going to pull it because I'm 44 and I'm not going to walk around with no teeth yet, like I'm a meth head or something. No offense to the meth heads with no teeth, but so I said, let's save this. So while he's patching up the tooth, with a temporary filling, he has his receptionist calling around to endodontists in the area, which I'd never heard of until this time, and so they get an appointment for me the very next day at 2:45. So they shoot crowd scenes. I think it was 3 days. The first day, the second day, I had to do dental work, so I couldn't get in. Let's see, it was the end of the first day though. I had a little time, and I went and they were shooting, and they didn't need me there at the Farnsworth house, but then they moved up the road to the pub on the square. And I finally got in.
Oh, you're an actor now.
So now I'm sitting.
Congratulations.
Wait. It's not done.
Oh.
So I'm sitting.
Sorry, the Oscar's coming.
Yeah. So I'm sitting at the table where they put me, and the assistant director comes over and she goes, we want this to look more sparse, so I'm going to pull you out. I'll put you in another scene. Don't worry. And I was like,
unacceptable.
Fine. Yeah,
I'm Matthew
really.
Calorie.
Exactly. Do you realize who you're talking to?
I don't know who I am.
So the way things went between my show recording schedule and dental work,
You're not even in your own movie now?
It's not in my own movie.
I think it's your movie.
Well, it should be my movie. But here's the interesting thing. I was Lee Major's assistant for 4 days.
Oh.
I did get to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Our older audience will recognize Lee Majors.
Yes, he.
Your producer will recognize.
Parker, you are among our older audience.
And thank you for noticing. Listen, I'm a very key demographic. I am Matt's foot person, and I'm your old demographic.
You're Matt's foot person?
Well, he's my
that's right.
I'm my
He's a big fan.
OnlyFans.
That's right,
Yeah,
that's right, that's
come on,
right.
keep
Don't
up,
look at
Pat.
me.
Keep up with your own jokes.
You're right. I just wanted to move past that one, to be honest, because it became about feet.
I know.
And I was like,
feet. I don't understand feet.
No.
But anyway, I never got in it, but I got to be Lee Major's assistant, and I took Bruce Boxleitner around on 3 tours. He was more excited, I think, to be in Gettysburg than be in a movie in Gettysburg. And
you think that's because he secretly thinks he could have done Longstreet better in that movie than
in Gods and
the guy
Generals?
he replaced?
No,
that's what I mean. Like, he likes Gettysburg. He's like, I could have been better Longstreet in this movie.
Oh, no. He had nothing but great things to say about Tom.
Did you try to sow beef between the two so they would eventually challenge each other?
No, but apparently I stumbled on there's beef between him and Gary Cole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I love Gary Cole because you ever watch Veep?
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters on Veep. I love Gary Cole. I don't know why, but he played Custer in Son of the Morning Star on ABC. It was a mini series or a 2-night movie event or whatever the hell they called it back then.
Remember when they did those?
Oh, they were great though. They were so much fun.
Awesome.
But that was early 90s, and that's how I learned about Gary Cole. And then, of course, the Brady Bunch movies, which she's freaking hilarious in.
If you ain't first, you're last. I mean, that's another good Gary Cole moment. If you ain't first, you're last. Talladega Nights.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot he's in that one. And, of course, Office Space. Yep. And so, anyway, Bruce wanted to go out to the East Cavalry Field because he's a Custer guy. And we're standing out there, and he goes, he's got a really deep voice, and it's like kind of a gravelly voice, and he goes, and it's like a slight Illinois accent, which I also can't do. And he's like, my favorite movie about Custer was Errol Flynn. They died with their boots on. I said, yeah, that was the first one I saw. I said, my favorite Custer movie is Son of the Morning Star with Gary Cole. And he goes, well, Gary Cole. I go, whoa, what's going on there? He goes, well, I was up for that part. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I don't think he would have been good. And he goes, no, I saw it and Gary did a great job. And he goes, but we have a bit of a rivalry. He doesn't know it. But we do. And I was like, okay, so it's not really a beef between the two. But that was cool. I took him around. Part. And then I interviewed him for the show. Nice. I interviewed Jake Busey. He was there for 2 days. So
Did you talk about his litany of great films from like Starship Troopers to...
He's been in so many things.
PCU, man.
PCU, yeah.
That's my jam.
No, that's a good one. But no, yeah, Identity, I think I love that movie. That's a great movie.
If PCU is not considered like Animal House to be one of the greatest like college films ever made, then
I put it up there with that.
What are we even doing anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, just what are we, Van Wilder's a generation later.
The woman in A Gettysburg Christmas who played Bruce Boxleitner's wife, Kate Vernon is her name. She is the daughter of Dean, what's his face in Animal House.
Really?
Also, the guy from Josie Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. John Vernon was his name.
I don't remember names.
0.0. Mr. Blutarski. 0 points.
All right.
Yeah. But anyway, that was that. So I really didn't get to be in the movie.
All right. Well,
next one.
Follow Matt on his social media. Obviously, following Addressing Gettysburg on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. You'll be able to keep up with not only his show, but this Gettysburg Christmas Project film that is coming to life in town.
It'll be out in
right?
November. Shot all over town and the surrounding countryside. It'll be out. It'll premiere at the Majestic Theater on November 27th, I believe. It's a Monday, but that's the only day they had open. So November 27th, Majestic Theater in Gettysburg, and then it'll run there for a couple months.
Is filming wrapped?
Yeah.
So like all of it's done?
3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, 18 days. What is that? That's
Did they do this like the appropriate thing when somebody raps on set? They're like, and that's a rap for Matt Calorie. Yeah, and everybody stops and claps for the day.
Thank you, everybody.
And like, you walk off set.
Yeah, I
into the sunset.
As it went on, I didn't hang out as much as I normally would have.
You're bitter because you weren't in it. You're like, I don't even want to be here.
No, it was. I got a friend of mine a job on the film, and this is my fault, but I had accidentally divulged something that I should not have divulged.
Oh, no.
And it's totally my fault. I mean, but she was giving me the cold shoulder for about a month.
Oh,
and
Matthew,
so when I I know, and when I bumped into her on the on the set, she would act like she didn't even know me. Like, I mean, like literally, like look right through me, like didn't even know me. And I was like, you know what? I'll let her have her fun here because I've done this. Well, she has too, but yeah. So I didn't really hang around that much.
And then you found out you were in trouble later because
I knew I was in trouble the minute I said it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I was hoping that it wouldn't get back to her, and it did.
Yeah, crow. Did you eat crow?
Oh, my God.
We don't need to talk about it, but
we talked about it. We talked about it last week. After a month of silence, we finally spoke, and I apologized profusely. And she said, no, it's okay. I understand. I'm over it. Like, we're cool. And I said, no, we're not, because it hurt you. And I don't forgive myself.
And now you have a belly full of crow.
And exactly. Ugh. And every time I burp, black feathers fly out.
So weird.
Yeah.
Matt.
And my burps sound like this.
I know.
What?
Matt is like, can we talk about something historical, please?
Yeah, I know. Let's get to Matty B.
No, but let's do that. Let's get our listeners engaged, because if you want to hear about all the things going on with Addressing Gettysburg, with the city of Gettysburg, the battlefield, things like that, obviously,
just go listen to it.
Hang out with Matt Calorie. He knows what's going on. Regular updates from National Park Service officials, things like that. So kind of everything going on.
Yeah, the superintendent is coming on again.
That was a nice pull. We saw you had that. We were like, well done, Matt.
Yeah. And we're having the archaeologist on soon to talk about everything they've been finding at Little Round Top.
I'm also going to say,
including that live round on February 14th.
Yes. That was cool, though.
Before we continue, let me pass a compliment. I love that you didn't just interrogate him when you had him on.
No. I want him to come on more than once.
A lot of people feel strongly about the work being done around there, and he's obviously at the helm of it, and so it would have been very easy to ask a lot of very hard questions right out of the gate. So you handled that very well.
Thank you.
Obviously, I think he had a good time.
He did.
He's
coming
now
on
your
again.
friend. So,
He's a very nice guy, and he's coming on again. We're gonna do it. I like it because the audience can call in and they can ask the questions.
Yeah.
And if one of them wants to be a douchebag, well, I can't control that. Not that I want them to, but you know.
Yep. All right, buddy. Let's get into it because I know you're chomping at the bit to actually do the work we do, which is to attempt to teach people things, Matty B. Matt,
Perfectly fine.
Matt,
I'm a big fan of having Matt here, and I think it's great that we're able to catch up
he's not
with
even
him.
a big fan of having me here, and I host the show with him.
He said Matt.
Yeah, I know. He's a big fan of having you here and not me. Because I host the show with him and he's tired of my BS.
Yeah, he's your
Matt
old
doesn't
hat.
see anything wrong with this.
3.5 seasons into
like
this.
your point.
And he's like, why am I even here?
Well, yeah.
Now, Matty B, you're going to steer our general direction today where we're talking about sort of the history of St.
Hi, I'm
Patrick's
General
Day.
Direction.
Yes, general direction. Sir, reporting for duty. Please take us
Better than
away.
Captain Obvious.
And take us away in your fashion, bud.
Captain Hindsight.
So, as y'all know, we are here for the St. Patrick's Day special, and St. Patrick was the patron saint of Ireland, whose feast day is on March 17th. Now, there's a lot of speculation in regards to St. Patrick himself, but it is believed that he was born about 387 BCE in Roman Britain. Now, Pat, you mentioned on the intro Wales.
He's a Welshman.
This is part of Roman Britain at the time. He was kidnapped and enslaved by Irish pirates as a young teenager taken to Ireland, where he worked as a shepherd and later wrote that his time as a slave amongst the Druids and pagans of Ireland helped him turn to God.
Yeah, so wait, so he worked as a shepherd. He was a slave.
Correct.
Right. He was sold to the Druids by who? The Irish? The Pirates. The Pirates.
The Irish. The Irish pirates.
The Irish pirates. Okay.
Yes. So the Irish Sea.
Oi, dig it, matey.
Yeah, I like that. Pirish.
The Irish Sea, the sea between Great Britain and Ireland, has pirates.
Sure.
Of some sort at this
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yep. So he's going to escape slavery, in part because he is a shepherd, and so he's kind of out there by himself. And he is going to receive a vision or a dream, again, interpretation varies, that he should go to the coast, and when he does so, there's other folk there that are actually just resupplying on their voyage, and he is able to link up with them, and he returns to England at about age 20. Again, Roman Britain, sorry. And he'd be claimed, like I said, claimed that a dream and God urged him to escape with these folks. And he's able to reunite with his family. So he's going to study for the priesthood and is ordained and is later ordained a bishop. He is sent to Ireland to then spread the word of the gospel, arriving there in about 433.
You think he got there diagonally?
I beg your pardon?
He said he's a bishop.
Oh, God damn it.
It's a chess joke.
Chess pun.
I appreciate that. That was actually pretty good. All right.
That was good.
He is going to arrive in about 433 BCE, Common Era, not BCE, and is eventually going to convert thousands. Now, what's fascinating about Ireland, St. Patrick, and the conversion work that he does is that, as you guys know, there are hundreds upon hundreds of beautiful ancient churches in Ireland, and a lot of them date back to this period. They're literally, 1,500 plus years old. I mean, just ancient structures, and some of them are still being utilized many of them are still being utilized as churches. And he is going to pass away almost 30 years later in 461. Now, what's interesting about St. Patrick is, of course, he's a saint before the Catholic Church really started doing saints. There's a whole bunch of those. And he is a recognized saint in the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Lutheran Church, the Anglican Church, the Church of England, and the Church of Ireland.
How did he become a saint before they started doing saints if there were no saints?
the structure
question.
that we have for sainthood, or I should say that the Catholic Church has for sainthood, is not formalized until much later. And so there's a bunch of folks that do saintly things that the church recognizes as sainthood without having to go through the whole process.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, again, recognized by a ton of different faiths within Christendom as a whole. He's arguably the most popular saint in the world, and St. Patrick's Day and variations thereof is celebrated by a lot of different folks. Now, when it comes to St. Patrick's Day here in the United States, that is tied very much to the influx of Irish that we're going to have in the 1840s through the 1860s, and a lot of that is, of course, due to what, Pat?
Would it be the potato famine?
It would be the famine.
Would it be the Great Blight when all the great starch went to hell and we couldn't eat our food? And
Did he call it the Great Starch?
no, yeah, maybe. It's the Blight.
It is the
famine.
blight. The famine or the blight does have a huge role to play in, as I think most folks of Irish ancestry understand. But there was also a lot of immigration from the United Kingdom, Great Britain, what have you, prior to the blight too.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean to imply that it all came from the Blight. I mean, there's this huge thing going on called English oppression of the Irish. So they're leaving in droves. There were the failed rebellions of 48 that happened around the same time. I'm sure you're about to touch on some of these things, Matthew. I don't mean to steal your thunder. That's my new... When you introduce me for the rest of the season, you got to be like, Pat, the guy who steals all my freaking thunder.
Who brings the thunder?
Doesn't even bring it. He steals it.
Just
bastard.
Takes it away.
But yeah, so obviously I didn't mean to imply that it was just the potatoes, but I mean the potatoes were a big part of it. I mean people were starving. And it wasn't just potatoes, it was crops in general. People were just having a terrible time eating in Ireland at that.
So it was hard to eat.
Into the 1840s.
Had an eating disorder.
A little bit of stats on that. Prior to the American Civil War, from 1846 to 1854, more than 1 million Irish immigrants are going to come to America.
Holy St. Patrick!
And there's a whole lot of folks here in America who are saying just that.
Yeah.
What years was that?
Were
those?
1846 to 1854.
Wow, that's a lot in that short amount of time.
Yeah, less than a decade. Now, the United States was by far the most popular destination of approximately 2 million Irish that would flee the potato famine and the poverty that would follow it. So, there, of course, we have a lot of Irish heading elsewhere. Canada is very popular as well, but the United States is seen as the beacon on the hill, and everybody, not everybody, but most folks are coming here.
Sure.
This mass immigration was not well received by many in the United States, in large part due to the fear of Catholicism.
Yeah.
And that's a real big fear.
So is that why they hated us? Is the Catholicism, not so much because we're Irish? It was the Catholic part of it?
It's mostly the Catholic part. The Know-Nothing Party of the 1850s, late 40s, and into the 50s is very anti-Catholic. Yeah. And because of that, they're very anti-Irish.
Yeah, as are most former Catholics.
Yeah, I mean, among them.
Yeah, me too.
Shout out to the Know-Nothings real fast. They are the group of people that actually built the middle section of the Washington Monument, commonly referred to as having only been built in 2 sections. Go there, stand there. You can clearly see 3 defined sections of stonework, and that's because the Know-Nothings built like something between 2 to 4 feet of height onto the tower during the war. So when anybody tells you that during the Civil War they didn't do construction on the Washington Monument, you can say, you know nothing.
Yes, very good.
Well, the Know-Nothings were pretty much gone as a political party by that point.
Well, they paid for 2 to 4 feet of stonework on the tower.
Good on them, I guess.
Look it up! I might be wrong on that.
Not only is it the Know-Nothings, but it's also going to coalesce, this anti-Irish sentiment is going to coalesce into what was known briefly as the American Party. Of course, that spawns the Know-Nothings, which eventually the Know-Nothings break down and join the burgeoning Republican Party in the mid-1850s, and the Republican Party is this conglomeration of a whole bunch of anti-democrat, anti-slavery, and anti-everything else party.
Hate it all.
Yeah, exactly. So
Is this the no Irish need apply era, Matt?
that's one of many times that happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like 100 years of that.
Calorie and I aren't getting jobs in this era that you be talking about.
No,
there,
sir.
Or you boys are going to be fighting your neighbors and everybody else for said job, and I'm going to keep driving that price down
Yeah.
until
Thanks.
one of y'all bites the bullet and takes it.
Matt and I
Not
are-
me specifically. I
Matt
actually
and I
have a
are
lot of
fighting
Irish in my
for a
background.
nickel.
I mean, could you imagine, though, Pat, if we
Yeah.
were around back then, we wouldn't be able to just get by on our beautiful tenor of singing voices. We'd actually have to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
There was some humor. Obviously, everybody knows when
Four-letter words.
I focus on like actual historical study. I don't do a lot. What a lot of historians do is I don't focus on my familiar route through time.
sure.
But every once in a while I check in, and everybody that knows me through this show knows there was a time where I swung a hammer for a living, and I was a roofer, and I got a chuckle once. I found a relative of mine who served in the American Civil War, and his job on the most recent census that leads him to the war says that he was a laborer, and then they put a slash and it wrote roofing. Like they specified what sort of labor work he did.
You hadn't evolved at all.
No, it cracked me up because I was like, look, even I know exactly what I would have been doing during the war. I'd have been working with that guy,
right.
doing thatch and pitch roofs, and things like that. So anyway, I got a chuckle. So laborers, that's what we are.
Yeah,
So the
basically.
National Museum of Ireland estimates that during the American Civil War, approximately 160,000 Irish fought for the Union, and an estimated 20,000 will fight for the Confederacy.
They've been misled to their fates.
Well, and that's because of all. And that's because of all the ports.
Is it better than a bloody English?
You have.
That's the
New
first
York.
time I've heard anybody do a Gods and Generals quote in any conversation.
That's true. You've got New York and Philly, Baltimore, Charleston. Well, now we're getting into the southern ports. But you've got those big northern ports pulling in tons of folks, but then the southern ports are doing the same thing. Charleston, and especially New Orleans, is pulling in a lot of Irish.
That's a lot of my family's route into the war, right? The few people I've tracked, they show up in Georgia regiments, they show up in New York regiments, and I always wondered how that happened. And one of my first lessons many years ago was a lot of the Irish picked a side just depending on the port they came through.
Yep.
Home was wherever they established. So if you got to New York and Boston, hell yeah, you were a Yankee. But if you were a Mick that came through in Charleston, Savannah, Texas, New Orleans, your new home was in the South, and so you went and fought for that. So that's something that's very close to home in our life.
Right. So just to touch on a little bit of what's happening on St. Patrick's Day during the war, since we do a lot with Civil War on this show, I thought it would be interesting for folks to know.
Yes.
The first St. Patrick's Day of the war, March 17th, 1861, federal troops will abandon Camp Hudson in Texas to state authorities. So that's really all that's going on that day. This is during that period before the war has begun, but the state authorities are beginning to take hold of properties throughout the South. And so this particular fort was abandoned by federal forces. 1862, we actually have a lot happening. The Army of the Potomac is going to begin embarking at Alexandria, Virginia for what becomes the Peninsula Campaign.
Yes. On St. Patty's Day?
On St. Patty's Day.
Dude, what a kickoff day.
Yep. Now, also what's happening is Major General Grant is back in command of the Army of the Tennessee, and is concentrating his forces at Pittsburgh Landing on the Tennessee River.
Is that Shiloh?
Done. Yes, that will be Shiloh in about a month. Skirmishing at Riddle's Point, Missouri also occurs on March 17th of 62. 63, Battle of Kelly's Ford and the death of John Pelham will occur.
The gallant Pelham.
Yep, and what is it, 10,000 hearts across the South break upon news of his dying or something like that?
So many left.
Well, that's not as many as when Maverick hooked up with Charlie. There were hearts breaking all over the world.
Yeah, that's true too.
Moving on.
You didn't just acknowledge my Top Gun quote. Just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it, Matt.
We're also going to have skirmishing at Bealton Station, Herndon Station, and Franklin, Virginia in 63 on St. Patrick's Day. 1864 St. Patrick's Day is actually one of my favorites. So, Lincoln supports emancipation in Maryland. Excellent.
Go.
Lieutenant General Grant formally assumes command of federal forces and announces his headquarters to be in the field with the Army of the Potomac. Also awesome.
Yep.
Skirmishing occurs at Manchester, Tennessee, and on Red Mountain in California, and Corpus Christi, Texas. So we've got some big things.
California's like, we just want to be a part of it. We just want to be a part of it.
Unfortunately, as you know, Pat, most of those California actions are dealing with policing American Indians.
Yes, obviously. Is that an Indian battle, or is that a Confederale thing out there?
No, it's not a Confederale thing. It's another policing action against Native Americans.
We'll touch that subject another day, but you better buckle up because that's going to be a pretty brutal one. A lot of reality coming at you when we touch that one.
Exactly. Now, on 65, towards the end of the war, skirmishing would occur at Falling Creek, North Carolina. Major General Canby begins gathering forces for what becomes the Mobile campaign.
Can be, should be,
shouldn't be,
is be.
I hate everyone in
Do
this
be.
room.
Oh,
Major
I like
General
those.
do be.
I like those.
Yeah.
Can be or not can be. That is the.
That was a dad
question.
That was a dad point.
The siege of Petersburg continues, obviously, and then this is, again, fantastic. Lincoln is actually going to be giving a talk that day to the 140th Indiana Infantry,
Excellent.
where he would states, "Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried upon him personally."
Oh, that's one
That's
of
a
the
great
famous
one.
quotes.
Yes, it is.
That's
That's
a
one of
St.
my-
Patty's Day quote.
That is a St. Patty's Day
Very
quote.
nice.
So I thought you guys would enjoy that.
Matt, what are the soldiers doing? Like, how do they observe this holiday? Are they getting, shit-faced? Or are they going to
question.
church? Because let's be real. In America, we get hammered. If you were in Ireland and you're really observing this holiday, you're probably in church today.
Well,
Church and drinking water.
Yeah.
yep. And that's actually a really good observation, Pat, because that's exactly what's happening.
Which
All-
one? The wasted or the church?
Both.
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great.
Because
They're becoming Americans already.
we have a lot of really good quotes about St. Patrick's Day, particularly in 63 for the Army of the Potomac. And they all say before the festivities begin, there are religious services in the morning.
So, all right, before we do anything, fellas, boyos, Matthew Calorie, Private Calorie, today before we get ourselves absolutely obliterated drunk,
Yes.
we got to go to Mass this morning.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We got
do.
to attend a good Mass. Our mothers would be very upset.
I need to take communion.
Praise the Lord,
Aye.
and then we're going to praise the porcelain.
When yes, I'm going to worship the porcelain god.
So, but no, I've always wanted to know, are these guys, are they getting hammered? Because that's what I was a younger man.
No, that's a great.
When I was a younger man, that's why we're tuning up the engine now. Because when I was a younger man,
Got hammered.
today on St. Patty's Day, you'd find Pat 3 sheets to the wind by like 7 o'clock at night.
Sure.
And then you'd see me at last call and be like, how is he still standing there? I mean, like, to the Dickens, he's still holding on. He's not even holding a bar top.
Yeah.
He's on his own.
How are his eyes staying in his head?
Yeah.
don't even know
No,
what that
I
means.
once upon a time could do the thing. So, Matt, hit us with some quotes. Tell us a little bit about going to church and then getting ourselves schnockered.
Sure, we can definitely do that.
Pest.
Again, the best quotes really do come out of the Army of the Potomac in 1863, and that's because they have downtime to actually party. Think about the condition of the Army of the Potomac in 1863, in the spring of
Spring, or late winter, early spring.
Yeah, of 63.
Let's see, they had the Mud March. They're humiliated.
Yep,
Hooker is
Hooker's in charge.
reorganizing.
exactly.
And,
That's the key here.
Okay.
Okay, because Joseph Hooker, Major General Joseph Hooker, is now in command of the Army of the Potomac, and he is doing everything in his ability to raise up that army. Okay, it had sustained a crushing defeat at Fredericksburg in December.
Thanks, John Reynolds.
He had sustained a humiliating march in mid-January, the Mud March. Okay,
Right.
Again, plan wasn't bad. Weather turned to crap. Kind of in both cases, actually.
Yep.
But Hooker is trying to rebuild this army from arguably the lowest point in its existence. There is huge problems with desertion. There's huge problems with the mail, with the food, with the condition of the army and the soldiers. And what are some of the best things we can do for morale in the army? Make sure the guys get fed.
Yep.
Make sure the guys get their mail. And if they can, let them go home. And in some cases, you get all three at this time.
Furloughs.
Yep. And so the Army of the Potomac really begins to rebuild itself this winter. And as much as a lot of folks don't like him, and in many cases understandably so, Joseph Hooker has a huge role to play in that.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I just say that, when you're feeling down and you're like, my life is the worst it's ever been, it can't get any better. Think of the Army of the Potomac in the winter of 63.
Yeah.
They were down and out, but look what Hooker did. All you need to do is have someone, and it needs to be yourself. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And I know people hate hearing that, but it's true. And by July, you'll kick Bobby Lee's ass.
Yeah. I mean, we have an episode coming up where we definitely give credit to Joe Hooker for establishing a lot of the things Meade inherits and that allow Meade to keep the job he has for the rest of the war. I mean, Meade, which, again, in that same episode, we heap a ton of praise on him, deservingly so. But also we turn around and we say, like, he did inherit a lot of really good upgrades and, institutionalizing of things within the Army that helped lift that Army out of that mud that Matt talked about. So, Hooker is a lot of things, but he is definitely also somebody that did, I guess, get the ship righted when it needed to be righted.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much you wanted me to dive in on these, Pat. I've
Give
got
us some good ones.
Pretty beefy quotes.
Give us some good ones.
Some good ones? Okay.
Corned beefy quotes?
Give us some Irish beef. Some corned Irish beef.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what they're doing for these celebrations. So this comes out of the memoirs of General Thomas Francis Meagher himself.
General Meagher.
There he is.
Let's see.
Written from the rear.
A spacious chapel had been erected of canvas and appropriately ornamented with evergreen wreath, festoons, and bouquet. A new and elegant vestment had been purchased by the men for the beloved chaplain, Reverend Father Corby. And here at 8 o'clock a.m., the exercises of the day commenced with the celebration of High Mass accompanied by martial music. General Meagher and his brigade, with hundreds of invited guests, were present. At the close of the Mass, Reverend Father O'Hagan, chaplain of the Excelsior Brigade, preached an eloquent and patriotic sermon. So, there's your religious aspect. Okay? Now, we also have, this is coming out of information from the 9th Massachusetts, known as the Irish 9th. At 11 o'clock a.m., a gill, or a half cup, or about 4 fluid ounces of whiskey was issued to each man in the 9th.
Yeah.
This they shared with their comrades.
Not enough.
Not enough.
That's why I'm taking yours, and it's about to be go time.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, McGuire, what's that over there?
Yeah, it's fighting time.
This they shared with their comrades of the 62nd, Pennsylvania, and had a jolly time. After dinner, actually that's lunch, the horse racing took place. Let's see here. To paraphrase, there were numerous races ran that day that were enjoyed by all until mid-afternoon, when a Go As You Please was announced, in which several races between officers took place on a half-mile track, the riders being expected to turn around at the half-mile mark and return. It was during one of these heats that Quartermaster Mooney's horse collided head-on with the horse of Dr. William Faxon of the 32nd Massachusetts.
Oh, no.
Both horses were killed instantly.
Oh,
that's how fast they were moving.
I remember this story from when you were in our show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the shock and collision of their collision could supposedly be heard a half mile away.
Yeah.
And I remember Eric having issue with that.
But I believe that. See, Eric had issue with it, but I believe it because I've heard horses collide. And they weren't close to me. They were a good distance away. I wouldn't say a half mile, but...
Do you know why Eric would have issue with that? Because secretly, Eric cries when he thinks about horses.
Yeah.
He watches the Budweiser commercials and he gets very emotional.
Oh, my God, yes.
He does hate cavalry.
So when
he
doesn't hate cavalry. He hates that we waste good horses'
Right.
lives.
He loves horses.
And he has a collection of My Little Ponies.
Yes, he does. He's a brony.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, he is. I've
Most
seen it.
people don't know that Eric Money is a brony.
Yeah, Moni is a brony.
He's getting in his Jeep. He's coming down here to fight us right now.
I know. Thank God I'll be gone by the time he knows where I live too, so it doesn't matter. We're all dead. No, but that's true. He is a brony, and I've seen his underwear. His brony underwear. My bearded brony, my bearded brony.
Okay, now he's coming for us.
Oh, Jesus. So, wait, do the riders live?
No.
His name is Sparkle
So neither
Hooves.
rider lives?
Dr. Faxon does. Dr. Faxon got
he's a
off
doctor.
lightly with a dislocated shoulder and some bruises. Quartermaster Mooney sadly was knocked unconscious and never regains consciousness, passing away 12 hours later. 12 days later. So we're having a lot of physical activity going on at these events. Horse racing is huge, but foot racing is also huge. And even some tomfoolery, if you will, is going on.
What kind of tomfoolery,
Yeah,
Matt?
please.
The mock dress parade of the regiment late in the afternoon had a large attendance, for it was wholly in charge of the enlisted men. The parody on the manual of arms and the clever imitation of Colonel Guiney's voice and manner by Napoleon of Company F, who acted the part of commander, was highly amusing to the spectators and to the regiment generally. As a day of recreation for the troops, it was productive of much good, both mentally and physically. Great regret was expressed among the officers and men of the regiment at the sad accident that had befell Lieutenant Mooney.
So when you were,
fallen.
I'm going to completely ignore the bummer horse accident at this point
Yeah,
now
so
because
sad.
the fake dress parade made me think about Black Hawk Down with Dominic Pilla doing the my Rangers on the 5-yard line. Whoop! You understand what I'm saying? And like Captain Steele standing right behind him, the guy he's doing the impression of.
Oh,
he's like,
yeah.
He's like, pretty funny. Whoop! Recognize myself. All these officers are like, that guy's a good guy. Did a good impression of me.
Yeah.
So some of the events that are actually happening, the Irish 9th put out a invitation to a lot of the other units in the area, basically advertising what was going to be happening that day. And some of the program was, about a week before the eventful celebration, they announced the following program: sack race.
Oh, yeah.
The sack race for a greased pig, climbing a greased pole, jumping matches.
A lot of grease.
Refreshments, horse racing in the afternoon, and then, of course, as we said, the mock dress parade. So they had a lot scheduled, and there's going to be a lot of coverage in regards to the races, actually. They comment about they were to come off rain or shine by the horses, the property of, and he ridden by commissioned officers of that brigade, with a purse of $500.
Whoa,
Yeah,
hey there.
so some serious walking around money.
This is an
That's a lot of
1860
money,
whatever
yeah.
money, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
$500 is a lot of money now.
I would take it.
I could use it. If you got it, send it to historythingspodcast@gmail.com.
Second horse to save his stakes, 2.5 mile heat, best of 2 and 3, over 4 hurdles, 4.5 feet high. So this is not a short hurdle.
No.
5 ditch fences, so jumping ditches now, including 2 artificial rivers 15 feet wide and 6 deep. So these are some serious obstacles.
really
Why are we
went
doing
to-
this? Horses are a premium in wartime. Well, who allowed
That's
the
a
use
great
of horses
question.
like this?
That is a really good question, though. Like, how are they getting away with this? Like, why are they?
Especially because of the 2 horses that died. I mean, think about Lincoln's famous quote about horses, right? You know, he
I
can make major generals or whatever.
Can't
but
make
yeah.
horses.
So we just lost 2 horses for the sake of Holy Saint Patrick.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because...
But he does require a blood sacrifice.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. All right. It is interesting that you asked that question, though, because it appears that all of this was sanctioned by the Army of the Potomac's highest of brass. Like, Joe Hooker has a spot of honor at these events. Let's see.
I mean, he's the general of the army.
The start of these activities was named for 11 o'clock, 10 minutes before the hour. The Commander-in-Chief of the Army of the Potomac, Major General Hooker, attended by all members of his staff, not detained at headquarters or elsewhere on duty. On the appearance of the Commander-in-Chief, he was greeted by warm cheers, which he graciously accepted as he took his place on the grandstand. So he's well aware of what's going on.
So there's like a bleachers. They built the ability to watch this.
Yep. When a fitting opportunity offered in recognition of the hospitable greeting that was accorded him, General Hooker proposed 3 cheers for General Maher and his Irish Brigade. God bless them.
Oh.
Let's see. And then it was at 1 o'clock that General Maher himself would announce that all further operations would be postponed for half an hour and invited the ladies and generals present and staffs to The coalition
To mingle.
to a coalition prepared and awaiting destruction at his quarters. In other words, the grub. And thither the goodly
booze.
company proceeded. In front of the quarters, 2 Sibley tents had been pitched, and for our viewers, those are the big cone-shaped,
Yeah, they're
really
huge.
big cone-shaped tents.
Kind of look like teepees.
And they do look a lot like teepees.
But they're not.
let's see.
They're
2
not
Sibley
teepees.
tents had been pitched, separated by a space of 10 yards, which space was enclosed by an awning. In and under these, the guests thronged. Mountains of sandwiches disappeared. With the precision and promptitude of file firing, pop, pop, pop went explosions that preceded copious draughts of rich wines. That attracted much
Sounds like
attention.
a Roman orgy.
Yeah.
That attracted much attention, however, and gratified ever. Appreciative palate were proportions of spiced whiskey punch ladled by Captain Hogan, the Gandymead of the occasion. He's the guy who actually went out and got all this stuff.
So I'd be like, don't be cheap, Captain Hogan. Fill it to the top.
Apparently, he was pretty good about it. From an enormous bowl holding not less than 30 gallons.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
These guys didn't mess around.
I wish
No.
that Washington's, General Washington's going away party was a St. Patty's Day party so we could run down that bar tab. 'Cause
Yeah.
every time I read it, I'm like, cool, there were 3,000 people there. And they're like, no, it was for like 30 people.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, what? 30 gallons means we can't have a ton of people in Hooker's party here. I mean,
No.
it's just a general staff and some women, right?
Right,
It's the
right.
officer corps.
30 gallons.
30 gallons.
That's crazy.
It wasn't really a concussion from getting hit by a shell at Chancellorsville. He was just permanently hungover.
He's still drunk.
2 months later, he's like, oh, Jesus.
Sorry, it was a rough St. Patrick's Day.
Never playing with the Irish
Yeah.
again. So after lunch, we have a number of foot races and enlisted men's programs. A foot race, 1/2 mile distance, best of heats, open to all non-commissioned officers and privates. Winner to receive $7 and second place $3. Not quite the 500 of the officers' horse race.
No.
This is for the foot race?
This is for the foot race.
All right. Out of the group here assembled, is Matt Borders winning the foot race?
Against.
If the 4 of us are racing.
Well, if he doesn't, I'll be very disappointed.
I'm not much of a sprinter, though.
But Parker doesn't run.
Off the line, Matt immediately
No,
starts
I don't
wheezing.
Neither does Matt. Listen, the last time I had to run, it was for a stress test at the hospital last
And
year.
you're like, running creates stress. There
That's
you go.
what I said to the doctor. I go,
And he's like,
I go,
that's
do we
the
have
point.
to do this? First of all, literally, I thought it was going to kill me. I have not run since high school. Right? And then they're putting me on this treadmill and they're increasing the elevation and the speed. And I'm like, and they're like, we've got to get you up to 150 beats a minute. And I'm like at 145 and it's just holding there. And they're like, a little more, a little more, a little more. I'm like, what do you do? You're trying to kill. And then they go, okay, quick, lay down on the gurney. You lay down on the gurney. They put the thing on your chest. She's like, hold your breath. And I was like, you. I can't hold my breath. I'm trying to catch my breath. What am I holding? Anyway,
You're
sorry.
holding nothing. I'm dying.
God.
So there were some additional. That was only the first competition for the enlisted men. We
All
also have casting weights. The weights to weigh from 10 to 14 pounds. The winner to receive $3.
All right.
Third is running after a soaped pig. The prize to be the prize.
What are you talking
of the
about?
pig.
You can just have the pig. You can
That's
just wash
exactly.
the soap off it, and then there you go. You can eat it.
That's exactly
Don't
it.
say you didn't get your salt pork ration. By the way, no salt.
The fourth activity was a hurdle race, 1/2 mile distance, open to all non-commissioned officers and privates. The winner to receive $7. The second place person $3. Fifth, wheelbarrow race, contestants to be blindfolded, limited to 6 soldiers of the Irish Brigade. The winner to receive $5. Distance to be determined on the ground.
Nah. How far do you think you can make it? All right, the race is 20 feet.
This is the one that broke Eric when we were chatting about it, when the 3 of us were chatting about it last time. Jumping in sacks,
Yes.
the sack race. Distance of 500 yards.
Yeah, that's so
Jesus.
far.
Winner to receive $5.
I think we said it on that show, like,
$5.
why is it so far?
Yeah.
You can have $5.
That's 5 football fields.
Even in Civil War time, you can have the $5. Honestly, I'd rather get shot at.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God. All right.
And they would do that with their scrotums?
Yeah, that's the sack race. They would stretch them and stand on them. That's where the rebel yell really came from. Everybody thinks it was Confederate, but it was.
So somebody would stand on your sack and you try to run.
It was the call of the Irish Brigade. They'd be like, "Oh Jesus!" And the Rebs would tremble in fear.
Here comes those low-hanging Irish people.
The bullets always bounce back at us. Oh, Matt, hit us with another one.
The last event, actually, is a 7th event, a contest on the light fantastic toe consisting of Irish reels, jigs, and hornpipes.
Yes.
The best dancer to receive $5, second best $3, to be decided by a judge appointed by the chairman.
Oh, my
So
God.
the officer corps is going to judge the
Don't
best
suck
dancer.
or you're losing.
Let's see. The amusements of the day were followed by a grand entertainment at night, theatricals, and recitations. Many a health was drunk, many a friend was toasted, flowing bumpers, loving glances at the fair ones, songs, toasts, and went freely around.
Nice.
So it was a heck of a party. And it's not just the Irish Brigade partaking in this. We do have other units being invited. In fact, the Irish Brigade will invite most of their division to this party, to this grand event that they put on, which is good, sharing the love, as it were. But you do get some units talking about this, other units that are not involved with the Irish Brigade and things like that.
They're talking about it like they were left out, or they're like, man, the Irish party.
Most of them are talking about Man the Irish Party.
All right.
Or they're talking about the events themselves. So this comes from...
Meanwhile, the German regiments are like, amateurs. Scheiße.
First Lieutenant Josiah Faville.
I don't know any other German words. I just say
First Lieutenant Josiah M. Faville of the 57th New York Infantry would note the conditions were simply that none but commissioned officers of the division could ride. He's talking about the horse race, which was sufficiently liberal. A crowd of officers presented themselves aspirants for the honor as well as prizes. And then he goes and talks about the race itself. The race was a great success.
Who's putting up the money, by the way? Sorry to interrupt you. I
Mostly
just
the
realized.
officer corps.
Okay, so they're basically paying for their peasant infantry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for their own
Listen, I'll ask you to die for nothing. I'll ask you to die for nothing,
Yeah.
but here, you want $5? Beat your mate across this field of 500 yards in length in a potato sack.
Potato sack.
You're familiar with potatoes, are you there?
You've heard of those.
Patty O'Reilly.
Oh, poor Patty. You've heard of potato. You people are familiar with them. Oh, no, you're not.
You've heard of it. Oh, that's right. That's why you're here.
Oh, that's why you came over here.
That's why you're American.
Because you ran out of potatoes.
That's what they do to warm them up before they fight. They just talk them like that. They get their dander up.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't say it.
No.
The Confederates did.
Now
Go
we
get
have
them.
to go earn it to kill these bastards for our lucky charm.
You cabbage-smelling motherfucker. All right.
Are we done?
We're never done.
No, I can tell.
We can do it because we're Irish.
But no,
That's right.
there are other units, the 57th New York, the 8th Ohio, another great unit.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They're all talking about the event, the
How much fun it
racing,
was.
how much fun it was, how wild it was in some cases, the amount of officers that show up for this.
The amount of red hair.
Gingers everywhere.
Yeah. It's a whole brigade of gingers. You gotta look at this.
But this is the big event when it comes to St. Patrick's Day in the American Civil War, is really this 1863 party. Because, of course, we still have St. Patrick's Day in 64 and 65 to occur, but really what's happening in 65?
Well, we're about to win the war, so we got other stuff to do.
Well, you got the siege going on.
Yeah.
Okay, the siege of Petersburg.
Right,
And 64 is the last time that we really see a celebration.
So even during the
occurring.
siege, there was no celebrations and
No, Matt,
small.
they had to win the war.
They're firing
you know.
salutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And then the Confederates fire back at them.
They're saying, we would be celebrating if you bastards would surrender right now.
Oh,
So in 64...
you're missing out.
We've got bread over here, you.
We've got soda bread and corned beef and
Carned.
corned.
Corned beef. What county are you from?
See?
I'm from Cork.
I'm County Cork.
I'm from Cork.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? C.
See.
R. Say R-K.
What are you, up Irish?
Everybody that listens to us in Ireland right now is like, we're either going to just stop listening or we're
Yes.
actively going to tell them we hate them.
No, listen, this is what's so great about Irish people is we make fun of ourselves and we know that it's all true and we laugh. We went through shitty times,
Yep.
but we persevered and we got over it and now we can laugh at our pain. Well, not our pain, our ancestors'
I tell
pain.
people all the time, listen to Irish music. The songs sound so happy, but listen to the lyrics. They're terrible.
Well, wait when
That's how they cope
we
with
get
the
to that
sadness.
segment of the show, I'll read you the lyrics. to
Yes,
one of
good,
my- yeah.
good. Because I want to ask Matt one more on the spot question.
Go ahead, Matt.
That appeals to his interpreter's heart, but when he's done with whatever he's about to read for us, because I see the paper shuffle, which means Matt has prepared remarks.
No. I just wanted to mention in '64, it's the last celebration of St. Patrick's Day in camp was observed with all due solemnity and the usual sports peculiar to the occasion. And they talk about high mass, they talk about the horse races again, so forth and so on. But again, not to the same level that you had in '63, just because you're into the grind by this point. It's
Right.
1864.
Yeah.
Overland campaign's about to begin.
There's a
and the
war.
Irish Brigade's about to, it's basically broken up by this point. It's basically gone.
That's what happens when you go through some of the bigger fights of the early and middle years of the war. And when you're finished, I'm going to ask you about one of those fights. So
I did want to read this last one, though, from 65. It's an interesting... It's from Elijah Hunt Rhodes, one of our guests' favorite.
thanks for
love
writing your diary,
Elijah.
buddy.
His diary is amazing.
But General Ali was late. Clarice.
Thank you. Let's see. Before Petersburg, Virginia, March 17, Friday, St. Patrick's Day, 1865. We attended the celebration at camp with the Irish Brigade, so-called. The sports were rough, and after seeing one colonel and two enlisted men thrown from their horses and injured so they will probably die, I returned to camp satisfied the Irish celebrations are dangerous amusements. Hurdle races and ditch jumping were the principal features of the games. I like a good horse and a good run, but such sport as I saw today is not to my liking. The enemy opened fire, but ceased when they found it was a celebration.
This guy's
Colonel-
impression of the Irish is like they play Russian roulette, and he's like, "Oh, what did he call it? Like deadly amusement?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he thinks we're like, "Yeah, that guy died." Woo!
Right.
St. Patrick's Day.
This is the best St. Patrick's Day. We lost 12 of our friends.
We lost Tommy.
All
it was
dead.
great.
They're all dead.
It was great.
And wait, did you say that the Confederates fired on them until they found out it was a celebration?
Yeah, no,
How'd
let
they
them
find
alone.
out it was a celebration?
I'm assuming the pickets were probably like, hey,
Stop shooting at us, you
okay.
dicks.
Yeah.
We're just celebrating over here.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, our bad eggs."
Sorry, we hate
We're
the
not
Irish.
Canadians.
or some of the Irish that were left within the Confederate ranks were like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What day is it?
Yeah, they're like, "Stop, you
Yeah.
idiots." Anyway, Matt, the interpreter in me wants to ask the interpreter in you, since you're wearing your Irish Brigade T-shirt, and we're gonna pivot to Antietam for a minute, because if you want to hear about Gettysburg, go listen to Matt's show.
Yeah.
Obviously, they cover the Irish Brigade and all that stuff that happens up there in the wheat field. But Matt, for us Antietam guys, give our listeners a short rundown of the Irish Brigade at Antietam. Where are they fighting? What's their action
standing
like?
up for
Why
this.
are we
Stand
the
up for
greatest unit on the field of all federal units that day?
Okay,
Go.
I don't agree with that statement.
I will fight you.
The Irish Brigade at Antietam, 1862, really not begins to earn its name, but really solidifies its name, because it is going to be moving onto the field at about 10:30 in the morning, and it is going to have something that, Matt, you're very familiar with.
Yes.
In your research. What happens there at Gettysburg 9 months later with Father Corby?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. He said a prayer. He
Not
gave
only does he-
absolution.
there we go.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for. He gives final absolution.
Final
And he gives
absolution.
final absolution to the Irish Brigade in a beautiful mass.
At Antietam?
At
Oh, at Gettysburg. I was gonna say, ours is so much more badass,
under
bro.
fire. But what happens at Antietam is that the men are already in line. Okay, we're talking about a division of the 2nd Corps has come onto the field. Israel Richardson, The lead brigade of which is Thomas Francis Meyer's Irish Brigade.
Have you seen Dances with Wolves?
Of course I've seen Dances with Wolves.
Okay, you're familiar with what's about to happen then.
Yes, I am.
The Irish Brigade is in line of battle, all 4 regiments,
Oh, it's so harrowing.
and riding down the length of that line is Father Corby himself.
Says, you are forgiven, you bastards!
That's right. He is giving out final absolution to the men, essentially under fire.
Jesus.
There are stray and long-range rounds coming over. They're not focused on the Irish Brigade as of yet because they don't know they're there. There's a big old hill blocking them, and they're about to surprise the hell out of some Confederate troops that are trying to slip around the flank of the Federal line.
That's right.
Now, he's riding down the line, giving final absolution to the troops. He is going to declare that their souls are saved and will go to heaven as long as they do not run. And any man who runs shall not be given a Christian burial.
Clever.
That is a hardcore thing to do. There are many, many, many in this world today who would recognize the gravity of that statement, but there's a whole lot of folks where it's not a big a deal anymore.
Right.
Okay? It was an extremely big deal
Sure.
to have somebody say that, particularly a man of the cloth.
Right.
How did he give absolution at Gettysburg there, Matt? Was he standing
He
on a
stood
rock?
on a rock
He was
and he's-
standing on a rock.
Stand on a rock, not even on a
Yeah.
horse. What a jerk.
Yeah,
What a
Gettysburg.
jerk. You guys have the better
Antietam for
story.
life.
Yeah, you have the better story for that one for sure.
No,
The rock was hit by a shell, though.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dwayne the Rock Johnson was hit by a shell at Gettysburg.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it bounced off
A
of him.
seashell.
The unknown cast. He was in Moana. It was a great movie.
Much love for Father Corby and what's left of the Irish Brigade at Gettysburg.
Sure, yes,
they
what's
are,
left of them.
They are relatively under fire during his mass there at Gettysburg, but it's not the same situation.
No. They're on their
Corby's
way.
robes are hit. I think Corby's got bullet holes in his sacramental robes when he comes off the field.
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
At
He's-
Antietam?
And he's got that kind of George Washington.
Yeah, I was just
at
gonna
the
say that,
Wilderness
yeah,
thing where it's
yeah.
like they keep hitting his coat, but never him.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what makes Father Corby such a badass in this moment. He's out there giving people forgiveness with his back to the enemy. Like, I don't even care. I know where I'm going.
Oh, well, he's got God's protection.
That's what he says. He's like, if I go, I know where I got a
God's
front row
will.
seat.
I know where I'm going. Straight down on the ground off this big beast.
Yeah, I've got an easy pass
16
past
hands
St.
my
Peter.
ass.
So,
I'd have been happy with a little
as
donkey.
many of our listeners are aware, of course, the Irish Brigade will advance and fights fantastically there in front of the sunken road.
Are they unit responsible for turning and getting things to flank? Remember when they're talking
Sort
about
of.
shooting down the lane?
Right, sort of. What's going to happen is unfortunately they are going, well, a good thing happens first. So Confederate forces are trying to counterattack out of the sunken road. At the same time, Israel Richardson's division shows up,
Right.
and Mars Brigade is right there in the front and just smashes into the North Carolinians. Now, Thomas Francis Meagher, as you guys know, is a bit loose.
Was that, did you say were you being racist right there? You
No.
couldn't just say he's a bit loose. He's got to be a bit
He's
loose.
all loose.
He's a bit loose.
He's a bit
he can be a-
Mick loose.
He can be a little loose with the facts sometimes, but he would claim that his troops got within 30 paces of the Confederate lines
different.
before they opened upon them with buck and ball.
Yeah.
Doesn't he
Okay.
say that same thing a few months later and about a stone wall? Like,
Probably.
where they get within 50 paces of the stone wall.
So 50 paces. The Park Service actually believes it's probably about double that. So it's 60 paces. They're still deadly close.
I mean, they're close.
Yeah.
But still, a pace, though, I found, was not just a step.
A peso you found?
A peso I found on the floor one time. And I picked it up and I said, what can I get for this? And I got punched in the face. So that's what you get for one
He said,
peso.
That's mine.
Yeah. Frank thinks I took it out of my hand. No. A pace,
Mhm.
is, it's not, I thought it was just steps,
Right.
but it's not.
Right.
It's an actual, I forget what the
it's-
measurement is, but
Excuse the pun, but it's actual pacine. That's an actual unit of measure.
Do we
yeah,
know what
no,
the
I know,
math is?
but
What is
what's
it, 2 feet,
there's
6
a,
feet?
right.
I want to say it's about 2 steps for a standard move, just walking.
That's the way my wife measures things. She just holds up her hands and goes, it's this big.
Yeah.
Matt, I always like asking about the Antietam absolution scene because, I mean, it's not a secret. I don't keep faith. I'm not a religious person, but yet that moment always moves me just because of the sacrifice the men make, the selflessness of Father Corby in that moment, the peace he is providing for those men, even though they are facing, a lot of them, their imminent demises. They know that they are going to be taken care of physically, if possible, because obviously you can't guarantee your remains get recovered, but if they are, they'll be handled with, the Christian rite and things like that, but also just the peace that, a lot of their souls are going to go where it needs to go for them. So,
but also, what a morale booster to see an unarmed clergyman running up and down in front of the line on a horse.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say, is that guy has no business being there, and yet there he was, and in such a majestic and epic way, too, like, I mean, again, not religious, but, inspired by this moment. Like, if I was standing on that line, I'd be like, holy shit.
Right.
You know what's wild about the reverends, the regimental chaplains?
What's that?
What's their rank?
Major?
Chaplain?
Very good, Matt. Yes,
thank you.
They are majors. They are majors.
Major assholes.
They are majors without really the position. They can't give orders as a major, but when it comes to pay, when it comes to position within the staff of the unit, they're a major.
I didn't know this. So they have no authority as a major.
Correct.
Oh, that's interesting.
But they get the uniform?
They get the uniform and the pay.
They get the pay. They don't get to wear let's see, major has the oak leaf. They don't get to wear the oak leaf.
Why?
Because it's not part of the actual ranking structure.
Wait, I thought they do, but it has a cross on it. Or is that something that reenactors created?
Honestly,
it's the shoulder boards of a major, except there's a cross in the middle.
Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
Honestly, no, because it's very possible that that's a real thing, but I'm not familiar with it.
I'll Google it here.
I've seen what you're talking about, but I don't know if that's actually a thing.
Right. I don't either.
And most regimental chaplains aren't wearing boards.
Well, they're out there.
Most
in
of them
robes.
are wearing the black.
Yeah, they're in their.
Yeah, I mean, are they
even robes? It's usually a black frock with black buttons. That's what the regs say it's supposed to be.
True.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So maybe they have something on there. Here, look here. That.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
What's the date on that, though?
That's 66. Sorry.
It's all right.
No, it's not all right. God damn it. I can't forgive myself for this now.
Matt, before we move on, are there any other, notable... I know in the context of real history...
But that's a captain.
There's innumerable examples of the Irish on the battlefields and things like that, especially in the Civil War, all that. But when it comes to a lot of what my favorite ways to connect with history are, that first step that brings you to a subject is often through something as light as film, music, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get a ton of look at the Irish in the Civil War. I mean, I think off the top of my head, we get a snap scene in Gettysburg. They show Corby at the Rock. And then in Gods and Generals, we at least get the really sad charge, the wall. Is there any other representation of the Irish, by the way? Why are we always represented in this, really sad...
It's always pathetic.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look, it's like they're just killing each other and the music.
A tree grows in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Or no, wait, is that an Irish story? Or Angela's Ashes? That's
Well, one of the ones I want to talk about is Wind That Shakes the Barley a little bit, but again,
what was
it? The Wind That Shakes the Barley.
Never heard of that one.
Well, we'll transition there in a moment.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm looking forward to getting into Irish culture because.
So am I leaving anything out? If you're looking for the Irish in the Civil War and film, we have just Gods and Generals.
When the Irish unfortunately we have some.
We got Mulcahy.
I was just going to say, Sergeant Mulcahy.
We got Mulcahy in Glory, which is a pretty good representation of.
I love that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is about as racist as he can be.
Oh my God, he's awful.
And he is across the spectrum with it.
The Irish are not fond of it.
We're
not known for their fondness.
We don't like to admit that we weren't the best to people of color in the.
No, but we weren't much better than them either. We were looked at almost the same.
But without taking this episode into super serious land, we did maintain one thing: we were free, and that is a huge part of this conversation. Oh, that's a huge
difference.
Right? So when people do visit this conversation in a serious sense, keep that in mind, that if you're about to compare yourselves as an Irish descendant to anybody who was ever enslaved, No,
Right.
Irish were never
You're
slaves.
still white.
Yeah.
Right.
The Irish were never slaves the way that you think that you're comparing them, and also at any point in time on the social totem pole that you think there was something similar, but they were free. So
Another example, unfortunate example, would be Gangs of New York,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
which really does play up not only the Irish having to band together in the New World in places like New York City and elsewhere, but also the anti-Irish feeling that's going on. Bill the Butcher is a good example of that, with be it whether he's American Party or if he's a know-nothing, it doesn't matter. That really violent
he's a native.
nativism that we see is a very good example of that. And unfortunately, too, the backlash that you were hinting at, Matt, in regards to downtrodden Irish lashing out at the free black population of New York during the draft riots.
The riots, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the enslaved that they had the problem with, because they felt better than them.
Yeah,
It was the ones that they had to compete with for jobs.
Right. And
they didn't treat them too well during the riots. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
They hung them.
And there's a whole thing with the free population is competing with jobs, as you said, but we also have the fact that what are we fighting this war for? And if we're freeing all these folks, if they're going to come up here and now they're even more of a threat to our jobs, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that tension that is actually happening and then also portrayed in film in that sense.
I like the TV show Copper.
Yeah, there's another good
Is that
example.
good?
It was great. I don't know what the BBC America did, canceling it like halfway through the second season.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was. So is it
it's
about
a cop drama. It's a standard cop drama, but it's set in 1864 New York.
Oh, I thought it was about my friend Donnie Copper from American Civil War IG.
No, it is not about
on
Donnie.
Instagram.
That is about is there like a Chicago helicopter at this point? That would be him.
I didn't think he was based in Chicago.
He's
though.
not.
No,
but,
he's in
I don't know.
Pittsburgh.
It
I thought he
seems
was
like
in Pittsburgh.
all the first
Shout out to
responder
Donnie.
shows are based in Chicago right now.
Chicago
Good point.
On the next Chicago helicopter.
Donnie's like, I don't know if we're gonna make it, man, and they're like, we're gonna make it.
He's
That's the
gonna
whole-
live.
That's a whole.
We're
episode.
gonna save him.
They never even show the patient. That's just it.
Start chest compressions now.
It's just three guys talking, and they don't even show the patient.
Right.
With somebody in the background just going,
What is this show?
Get me 50 cc's of high plepalol.
But it is I mean that's the best way to describe it. It's your standard cop drama, so that's not a knock. Which means it's pretty formulaic, but it's really well written.
Okay.
And they tie a lot of the background history stuff in. The only negative I have to say is you can tell when they canceled the show, because the show goes from being really well written to let's tie everything up lickety split, and it's like
I hate that.
Man, it was really cool. And the cops, the main characters, are all Irish immigrants. A lot of them are veterans of the war, which is still ongoing.
There you go. There you
the
go.
draft riots are tied into that. One of the main characters in the show, his wife loses her brothers in the draft riots. And so her kind of PTSD of that experience is a huge part of the show.
I'll give that a check.
So Copper's really good.
Was that on
Streaming
Prime
BBC
or
America.
Netflix?
I don't know what it's on now.
Yeah, that's true. It changes.
That show is old enough, and I am old enough, that I acquired that on DVD.
Is it that old?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it was on the air 8 to 10 years ago.
No
Yeah.
That's been sitting in my list unplayed for 8 to 10 years.
You probably got about a decade of needing to get on that
Oh
one
my
there,
Lord.
Boyle.
I just started watching Yellowstone last week. Have you watched it?
I'm not on the modern era, but through 1883, about to do 1923.
Okay.
Very excited, so don't spoil anything.
I'm not. I'm good. But 1883. Did you like it?
Yes, I did.
I loved it. I haven't started 1923 yet. I started the actual Yellowstone. Oh man,
I'm excited because
let me tell you something. This is a good show.
That's why I don't want to start it, because I want to get through all the prequels.
Yeah. I was of the same mind, but you know what it was? My sister was giving me a hard time. She said, "You got to watch it. You'll love it. You'll love it." That was a year ago. I bought it on Amazon, and I said, "I'm just not in the mood to get into a show yet." And then it took me until last week to finally get in the mood to try it. And I'm like, "What the hell took me so long? This is a
I want to watch
fantastic
it,
show."
but I feel like it's going to be a really good show, and I will get stuck watching it. And my wife will also recognize that her husband is not a super hot cowboy.
Well,
And,
I don't
I don't really want to put myself in that position.
Now I don't know. I don't really follow the
Because they are
the
super
pop
hot
culture
cowboys.
around it. So I don't. Do women find these guys hot?
There's one, there's like the one dude in the black hat with the glasses.
Yeah. They find him hot
They
or
love
just?
him.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I'm not cool like that.
a lot of
Also,
people
his name's-
say I look like Rip.
His name's Rip.
Yeah, that's he's a killer too.
Before I put on all my dad weight, I got Opie from Sons of Anarchy for a while, and then somebody was like, "Dude, you know Opie dies?" And I was like, "Oh."
But now I'm thinking more like
Opie from
Spoiler alert.
Opie from what?
Happy Days
Yeah, that's what. Opie Cunningham.
with a huge beard. If Opie really
Bearded Opie.
hit a ZZ Top face,
I think he did have a phase of having a beard, Ron Howard, for a
maybe.
minute. Yeah.
Who knows? So, all right. Well, look, let's talk about some more modern stuff. So, we're not going to go in depth on the creation of the Irish Republic. That is something that we do want to talk about in a way more in depth way. So, we're going to save that for another day. But I do
Right.
kind
much
of
more serious topic.
I do
too.
kind of want to touch on that subject in a way that helped me as a younger man sort of connect to. Obviously, it's sort of weird, and I'll be real frank. It sort of trips me out when people are like, "Oh, you're Irish." No, I'm an American,
Yeah. Thank you.
but I'm an American of Irish descent. So if we want to say it like that, cool. But as somebody who has got Irish ancestry, and that is the bulk part of my ancestry, learning about it is weird because I don't know what your family is like, Matt. Some Irish families are like, you cannot take a step without tripping over a shamrock. And other Irish families are like, what is the old country? What do you mean? We've always been here. There was no old life.
Yeah, my grandfather was first generation American, and so he had that connection. Hated the British because my great grandparents taught him to, and he always he grew up in Newark, New Jersey, in a tenement where he used to tell me he goes, well, you got to turn the light on. There's a pipe hanging out of the wall. You got to turn a nozzle. You light a match. You lose your eyebrows, but now you have light, right? And in the middle, all year long, you got to piss or shit in the middle of the night. You go out in the outhouse, and if it's winter, you got to chop the ice, and do your business, and then come back in. It doesn't matter how hot or cold you are, and that's what his parents were able to afford when they came here. They were dirt poor. But he went on and, became an accountant, went to college, fought in World War II, had raised 4 kids and left them with something in the end. And, he was able to do that. He was very proud of that. But he always liked to tell stories about how his mother, mispronounced things. He would say, he would say, she would say, as things got better and they got a little older and stuff, she goes, Jackie, I think we might want to take the train to Philadelphia. Philadelphia. Not Philadelphia, Philadelphia. Little things like that. And but they didn't live
Kind of cute
very
though, when
long.
it's your grands.
Oh yeah, no, it's cool. But no, so he always used to listen to Irish music, which I fucking hated because it was like on a.
You hated the music of our people?
Wait, no. I hated the music he listened to because it was on a cassette. That was like, kind of had parts where, and it was on this tiny little 3-inch speaker, tape player. So it was tinny sounding. And I'm a sound, even when I was a kid and I didn't understand sound at all,
Right.
I was a sound snob. And I really like bass. So I couldn't feel anything from this music because there was no bass.
It was for him, though. It wasn't for you.
Yeah, I know. But he played it when I was around. He should have thought of it. But anyway, so I'd go over and he was always listening to that kind of music, and it's just really whiny. And it drove me nuts, but now I like it. Now I like it because sound, Bluetooth speakers are better than these things ever were. So I like, that. But yeah, so he was on. Now my cousins, the things funny about my cousins, my one branch of the family, my cousins, they're all, Irish this, we're Irish that, we're Irish this, we're Irish that. It's like, well, your mother's German, so you're not all Irish. So why don't you pay a little attention to the German side too?
You're like, why do you have that mustache all of a sudden?
What an oddly shaped mustache. No, but here's the thing I don't like, honestly. Irish Americans.
Like
Who-
real Irish Americans
No,
or us?
No, because your answer is the same as my answer. I'm an American.
Yeah.
I'm not Irish. I have Irish heritage and blood and all that crap. But like the Irish Americans and Italian Americans who've never been to the mother country, never been to Ireland, never been to Italy,
personality.
and it's just like, oh, I'm an Italian.
Well,
and
Max
it's like,
was
no.
to say we're treading into this is now. You want to jump on the couch, the therapy couch, because he is from Jersey, and this is really the how they pronounce mozzarella.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
We did this.
that.
We did.
So do I.
This hit the cutting room floor.
Prosciutto.
Yeah, so this didn't make it to the episode, but when we had Matt on to discuss the tragedy of 9/11, we did, as we celebrate.
Did you cut that out?
Our assault on Italian American culture did not make it.
But
on
I'm half
9/11.
Italian. I can do it. I'm talking about what I witnessed growing up.
The hilariousness didn't match the reverence for
No,
the,
that's true.
what I mean in
That's
that
true.
episode.
I don't remember what we said though.
But we went down this whole rabbit hole of
And we haven't brought up Gabagool yet.
the ridiculous.
We have not brought up Gabagool yet.
Well, it's going to
Gabagool.
happen now because that conversation centered around the only American Italians do that over enunciation of Italian,
but
things.
never American Italians who have connections to Italy.
No,
Right? When they've been there and they maybe know how to speak it or someone in the house speaks it, they don't talk like that.
Yeah, it's like Anthony Fibonacci from Trenton. And like that's
Anthony
it.
Fibonacci.
But he's like when you talk to him, he's like, yeah, my mom, she cooks only with the finest prosciutto and mozzarella and a few and a gabagool. Ma, and they would say ma,
come
and a
over here.
gabagool.
Tell them what you put in it. What you doing? Ma, over here. No, put that down. Come over here. What do you got?
Yeah.
Oh, gods, come on. Get over here.
And none of them have ever had A, real olive oil, and B, been to Italy.
No, that's what I'm saying. And it's the same thing with, Irish Americans. I never go to a St. Patrick's Day parade. I can't stand it. I can't. The dressing up, the green, the bullshit. I don't. It's to me
That
that
explains why
you
you're
know
not
what?
rocking any green.
That's why I don't own green. I don't. Green doesn't look good on me
Well, look,
unless it's a pile of money.
Listen very seriously on the History Things podcast. We don't pinch those who don't wear green. So you're safe. You're not going to get pinched.
Oh, thank God.
However, we do beat the shit out of people who don't wear green. So
Good, I need a good
if you
beating.
haven't paid attention, has locked the doors. You're about to get effed up, bro.
But no, it just drives me nuts. Like you have no connection to it. You heard some stories from older members of the family. You've seen, a couple of movies, and you think but you're not Irish. You're an American. You're an American, and there's nothing wrong with tipping the hat to your heritage and all that stuff. I have nothing against the St. Patrick's Day parade. I just tend to not like to go where everybody's acting the same. Regardless of what, that's why I don't go to church. That's why I don't go to parades.
You're just a hipster. I don't go to church because everybody's going to church.
No, I don't go to. No.
Just kidding.
I'm. I don't know what the word. I'm an asshole. That's what the. That's what the word is. No, but seriously, it's. To be honest with you, I think even if you have Irish blood in you and you go and act like an asshole, that's cultural appropriation.
It also makes us seem silly, even though I do it and have no problem doing it. I don't disagree with you. I think I behave intentionally on St. Patty's Day knowing that I am behaving the way I do. Like, I think a lot of Americans are unaware that their portrayal of Irish heritage is insane.
Yes.
I am highly aware of it. And I love it.
Yes.
USA. I can do what I want.
No, and that's true. And the
we do.
Look, it's harmless. I just think people look like idiots. That's all. I mean, they're just complete fools. And the whole "kiss me, I'm Irish" thing, and the shamrock earrings and the sweaters.
Ask my wife first before you just try to kiss me. Jesus, people.
But I'm Irish.
Yeah, but ask my wife first.
No, but it's okay because I'm Irish.
But if you ask my wife first,
no, marriages don't matter when you're Irish.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
there are no rules.
There are no rules.
No rules.
Not when you're
just
wearing
right.
a "kiss me when I'm Irish" sweatshirt.
Wait, that's Outback Steakhouse. That's totally different.
Anyway, let's talk about pop culture. culture.
Yeah. So, all right. So, for me, what I was getting to was one of my first...
I'm older than you. I got to get to bed soon.
Some of my first introductions into the Irish culture in a more modern sense were through film. Movies like Michael Collins, later films like Wind That Shakes the Barley. Michael Collins stars the incomparable Liam freaking Neeson.
Right.
One of the most incredible and badass and... honestly, I'm terrified of Liam Neeson. When he says he has a specific set of skills, I believe him. I totally believe that guy.
Rob Roy, was that an Irish or was that?
No, that's Scottish. That's how cool he is. He can pretend to be Scottish, and I believe him. And I believe him. But these were movies that were really focused around the beginning of modern Ireland, like the establishment of the Republic, the separation away from England, and sort of the really bloody years between 16 and maybe these two movies in particular don't get into the more modern troubles, but more modern shows like Dairy Girls definitely use the more modern troubles, as they're called, as a backdrop. But these two films sort of are at the forefront of this era of really... It's just a hard struggle. It's a struggle for Irish independence, and what does it mean to the average person in Ireland? Because obviously the country as a whole doesn't want this. Today there is Northern Ireland, which is still part of the United Kingdom, and it is still kind of a touchy subject. It was only in 1997 that the Good Friday Accord was signed, or whatever it's called.
Accords,
Good Friday
Accords,
Agreement.
not a massacre. Jesus, Matt.
Sorry, I was just thinking about my heritage.
But these are movies that followed, and Matt and I talk about the First World War a lot. Well, what's Ireland doing as a whole? Not a lot. Its sons are being conscripted into the British Expeditionary Force like crazy. They are being sent to battlefields like the Somme and Verdun en masse. They are dying by the thousands for a crown that doesn't treat it the way it should, its people the way it should. And so at home, the decades and if not centuries more of strife and subjugation and persecution and oppression all come to this head, and you really start to see the revolutions explode, right? What they couldn't accomplish in 1848, they're going to attempt with some major movement behind it in 1916 and then in the 1920s and so on, and you're going to start to see this violent birth of the Emerald Nation that we know and celebrate like idiots every March 17th today. But these movies were very impactful to me because I really didn't understand that not only was Ireland at war with England, it was also at war with itself during these times. And that was a really eye-opening thing that, today in my family, you can see in certain ways still affects us. There are certain family members that are not close with other family members just because once upon a time, 60 years ago, something happened in relation to this story, and the family paths diverged.
Right.
I have family from Ireland. I have family from Northern Ireland. And so these are films that help me with that, but essentially they connect you with this very awkward and violent and tragic time. And when Matt, earlier you were talking about the British kind of, it's not illegal to kill and do stuff. I mean, there are innumerable instances during these years where it does seem like there is no recompense for assaults, murders, thefts, rapes that are conducted by the hands of British soldiers, or worse, the Royal Irish Constabulary. So when you hear about songs like "Come Out Ye Black and Tans," a lot of these are either Irishmen who fought for the crown and are now joining the Royal Irish Constabulary to sort of do the crown's policing work in the new Irish sort of world. There are also people from London coming in and out of towners. So you start to see this sort of just, I don't know. It really connected me to sort of understanding the violent birth of the modern roots. Like, we talk about birth of a nation in the Civil War sense all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about new birth of freedom. We talk about literal birth of a nation with the very controversial, incredibly racist film done in the early 20th century.
Birth of a Nation.
Ireland is going through its own modern birth, even though it already exists in identity as Ireland, and its people already exist in identity as Irish. It's still not free from the crown. And this really starts to happen in the early 20th century, and these movies I found to be incredible, and they connected me to it. They feature incredible actors. The Wind That Shakes the Barley touches on this in a much more sobering way than Michael Collins does. Are either of you familiar with this movie?
No.
Have either of you seen Michael Collins?
When it came out, but I didn't. I think I fell asleep.
Julia Roberts is in it and does a really convincing Irish accent.
Yeah, well, they have the money to pay someone to teach her how to do it. I have to learn it on my own, and I'm having a hard time, okay?
I definitely...
It wasn't meant to be an attack, but it's an attack.
But I felt attacked.
It is. Watching it recently to sort of get my mind ready for what I like about these movies, part of this episode, I definitely was like, in the 80s and 90s, like, people took being an actor a lot more seriously. Like, Julia Roberts learned how to do a very convincing Irish accent.
Sure.
Meanwhile, Cameron Diaz is like, I'm a turtle dove.
Ugh.
I don't even know, whatever. What was, do you remember in Gangs of New York, he's got all the roles?
Yeah, yeah.
What are you talking about?
And what about, what's her face in, From Hell?
Good movie.
What's the girl's name?
Heather Graham?
Heather Graham and her shitty Irish accent.
First of all, we're probably the first people to mention Heather Graham outside of her family in the law. I mean, she went from very famous to like, where did you go? Like, she's gone.
And she's horrible.
You know what's funny? Boogie
she's
Nights
not good.
didn't kill her career. Austin Powers did.
Yeah, well, Boogie Nights was hot, and Austin Powers was not. Yeah.
Okay.
And From Hell was stupid with her. I mean, I like that movie.
Yeah.
It's total bullshit,
Yeah.
by the way. And they didn't have cigarettes like that. That bothered me. The guy pulls out a cigarette.
Cultural
Yes.
stuff they screwed up in
Well,
that movie.
we
I
like
enjoyed
that
the
still,
film.
and it's enjoyable.
You could be
It's based
wrong.
more off the graphic novel.
As we found out in
Yes.
our Halloween episode last season, Matt thought when was it Sleepy Hollow, when the guy says, we thought you shot your bolt, he thought that was in a wrong place in history, and then we found out it was actually totally correct.
When he said what?
So, long story short, Sleepy Hollow.
Johnny Depp's Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he, I guess, sees the horseman and goes nuts for a night, and then when he comes to, Michael Gambon is leaning over him, and he's like, good Lord, we thought you shot your bolt. Meaning, like, shot your wad. And Matt took umbrage. He's like, that's an expression that's out of place. And I agreed with him at the time. And then I looked it up and was like, oh, actually, crossbows? It's pretty old.
And I still feel embarrassed I didn't think of crossbows.
No, you should be really embarrassed.
Season 4 is just penance for that moment.
Yeah.
You should apologize at the header of every show.
And not only that, but you're such an avid crossbower that you should have known.
We don't share that on this show.
Oh, sorry.
Listen, we try to keep some cards, some things close to the vest.
We try to keep our personal lives personal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so
People
sorry.
don't need to know that Matt is an expert marksman with a crossbow.
Oh, yeah,
qualified
that's what
in
I am.
12 nations' highest marksman ratings. Can you hear Matt blushing through the microphone?
All right, so let's get into movies and songs.
Yeah. So I just talked about mine. So when I talk about
for 20 minutes I've been waiting for this.
So when I talk about, Irish movies, things like that, my brain goes right towards the establishment of the Republic. So Michael Collins, The Wind That Shakes the Barley. And then I kind of start to think about sillier things after that, like maybe a Darby O'Gill or something like that.
Yeah, so that's one of mine.
So tossing it to you. So, like, give us some Irish movies, some Irish music, or hell, give us even an Irish actor that's just, something that, when you think St. Patty's Day, doesn't even have to be history related.
Understood. All right. St. Patrick's Day to me, and Irish, okay, everything for me is humor. I love humor. I have to inject it into everything I do.
That's where we cut 90% of your 9/11.
I know. I know. I can't take anything seriously. So
it's how you cope.
That's how
There's nothing wrong with that.
We acknowledge that, but that's why we had to cut it, because not everybody copes the way we cope.
I know, that's true. It's true, and it's such a shame that we had to cut that part out. But anyway,
what we got from you was gold. Don't even worry about it.
So Darby O'Gill, when I was a little boy, and the Little People. And Frank, I haven't seen it since I was a little boy. I can't find it.
Are you still scared?
I don't remember. Oh, the Banshee?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still scared.
I just thought it was so cool that this little leprechaun was that, I don't know. I don't remember much of it, but I do remember just certain images. So that was when I was a kid, but also, and it was funny because as a kid, I was like, this is boring. But as I got older, I appreciated it more as The Quiet Man.
Yeah.
Now, The Quiet Man is, and frankly, any John Ford movie, because he puts Irish humor in, even if it's not about Irish people, he puts that Irish humor in it. And it's dark, a little sarcastic, and a little fucking twisted.
Savage.
Yeah.
Irish humor is savage.
Oh, yeah.
You
But that's
cannot
what I
be
love about
dull.
it. No. And that's why I think I offend a lot of people is because I've held on to that. It's been ingrained in me. And even though it's politically incorrect to be, offensive, and I don't even mean offensive like in racist ways. I just mean like it's offensive because it makes you uncomfortable or it makes you think or it makes you realize. Because I guess that's what it is. Like Irish humor is biting, and it gets right to the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
And people they get offended by hearing truth that they know full well is true.
Because the Irish are going to die at any minute from disease
Exactly.
or persecution, so the joke has to be impactful and quick.
Right then.
That's right. We don't have
They're
time.
going to cut you now, Lassie. The British might be at the door.
I don't have time for you to get it, so I'm just going to tell you.
So the king is here.
Yeah, your are sagging.
Right. That's not even a joke.
It's not even.
I just wanted to tell you.
But the British might get us any moment now.
I thought you said it was a joke. Oh, knock, knock. Who's there? Your are sagging.
Oh, that's great. See, but that's the humor, though. It's like, I thought you said it was a joke. You're like, oh, yeah, sorry. Knock, knock. Who's there? Your are sagging. That's so stupid. It's funny. Oh, that was good, Pat. Oh,
I do
God
have good
bless
jokes from time to time
America.
on the show.
Anyway, so Quiet Man.
Yeah.
Now, the Quiet Man I like because it's like real. It was shot in Ireland. It's real Irish actors and John Wayne. And John Wayne's an American going over to Ireland to, buy his old home or whatever the hell the story is. I can't remember. But like Victor McLaglen in all of those movies that he did with John Ford and John Wayne, those cavalry movies, the big barrel-chested sergeant, drunken Irish, brawling, I love that. It reminds me of my uncle who, like I didn't know him in his brawling days, but he was
Yeah.
big guy, just always in for a good time. And I just love that whole thing. To me, that's like Irish whatever. It's idealized, of course, the Quiet Man, and but that's all movies really. And so that's really it for me as far as movies go. I like these movies you're talking about. Most Irish stuff is very depressing. I can't watch it. And
The Wind That Shakes the Barley is great because it's Cillian Murphy
oh, he's good.
before he's really famous.
Yeah,
Is it
he's
Cillian
good
or
though.
Cillian?
It's Cillian.
I thought it was.
It's Cillian,
Is
silly.
it? I just
yeah.
always pronounced it Cillian because
No.
it's an Irish.
Well-
I'm drinking a Cillian's right now.
Yeah,
but that's with a K.
But that's with a K.
Yeah, but the Irish spell things with a lot of letters.
Yeah, that's true, and they don't make any sense. BRA and then some like AEO combination letter NDRA comes out as Sandra.
There's a
And it's like, what?
Have you ever seen? There's this
the
movie
Gaelic.
called Leap Year with Amy Adams.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Irish tradition every 4 years on a leap year.
Oh, right.
The woman can ask the man. A woman can propose, right? And
Right.
So she goes to Ireland to like arrange this whole thing. I guess she's been waiting. Amy Adams has been waiting on her mister to get the question. Blah blah blah. She ends up in this Irish pub and she's trying to get the bartender's attention. He's got his back to her, and so she's starting to try to say the name on the back of the jersey, and she's like, Eogan, and it's like EOGHAN, and so she's like, Eogan, and he just turns off the TV, I think, or maybe he doesn't, but he just turns around, he looks right at her, and he goes, Owen. And you're like, why? Why are there all those letters for that?
Yes, exactly. But no, so that's it for the movies, I think, for me. I can't think of... There's always good, like you're talking about in Glory, Sergeant Mulcahy. Great character, short scene with him, but really...
Maybe that's a good summation of Ireland as a whole. We're not the main character of the world stage, but we've got great supporting.
Yes.
Because even like...
how about...
Siege of Jadotville, which is like a very modern, but it's like such a great Irish military story that nobody in America cares about, but...
it's in my queue, but I haven't I haven't watched it
It's
yet.
incredible.
I've seen it. It's
Yeah, that's what I hear. It's really good.
Here's the moral of that movie. The Irish are bulletproof.
Yeah. Well, that's
You
true.
cannot shoot at. You can shoot millions of bullets at them. You can't kill them. It's so weird.
That's true though.
But no.
How about
we're I guess we're good supporting actors.
Yeah, my favorite character in Braveheart is the Irish guy. He's like, it's my island. Steven, yeah.
Steven.
My
He
island.
talks to God, it's my island. Like, he's the comic relief.
Well, the first time you meet him, he's talking trash, and they're talking about getting blades, and he's like, "Good enough to get one past your guard, old man." Eh?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
God.
No, it's good stuff.
So yeah, anyway, Wind That Takes the Ball. It's a really good film. It has a bunch of actors who are in it before they're really famous now. But it really does cut to the core of this is not just a county to county thing. It's a house thing. It centers around two brothers who are on the opposite sides of what's happening in Ireland at that time, and it's an incredible struggle. And then, obviously we don't get a ton in America as far as film offerings of Irish struggle and Irish establishment. You go to Ireland and they make tons of films relating to this subject, but so you look for it in other places, TV shows, Copper. Those guys are immigrants. They came over from the famine. They go to fight for Lincoln, which is my perfect little segue to a lot of the places I really connect with Irish heritage are through music, which is why I was stunned earlier when I thought you said you hated Irish music. And I was like, Matthew, why?
Well, I don't.
Why?
I wouldn't say I'm a fan. But I appreciate more of it. It depends. Like okay, you mentioned Titanic before. When Jack,
I believe you mentioned it.
What?
I believe you mentioned
I
it.
did?
mentioned it.
No, Pat did. Yeah,
thought it was you.
I would never bring that into a. But anyway,
think I do White
there's
Star
that
episodes?
scene where Jack and Rose go down with the Irish people down below, right? And they're
Yeah.
doing the dancing. That kind of music I like.
So
That
Irish party music.
Driving, with the baldron and
You don't
like-
want to hear Danny Boy.
No. Now hold on. That always makes me cry.
That's fair.
Okay. It's Christmas in Killarney with all the folks at home. No, that doesn't make me cry. But I remember that from being a little kid. But you know what my favorite Irish song is, though?
What's that?
Gary Owen.
Oh, yeah.
May I read you the lyrics?
Yes.
Man.
I want to hear what Matt's favorite Irish song is next.
Let Bacchus' sons be not dismayed. Now you say to yourself, who's Bacchus?
I know.
Jim Bacchus from, of course, Gilligan's Island played Mr. Howell. Let Bacchus' sons be not dismayed, but join with me each jovial blade. Come drink and sing and lend your aid to help me with the chorus. Away with spa, we'll drink brown ale and pay the reckoning on the nail. No man for debt shall go to jail for Gary Owen and glory. We'll beat the bailiffs out of fun. We'll make the mayor and sheriffs run. We are the boys no man dares done if he regards a whole skin. Our hearts so stout have got no fame. For soon 'tis known from whence we came. Wherever we go, they fear the name of Gary Owen in glory. Who wouldn't want to hang out with those guys?
You're right.
Like, who wouldn't want to have those guys at your back, right?
That's how I feel when I hear McAlpine's Fusiliers. I'm like, yes, rough, tumble. We're getting hammered. We're doing hard work, and we're beating the shit out of anyone that messes with us.
Yeah.
I'm in.
No mention of love in there.
No.
No romance, no wives at home. Just bunch of guys out brawling and
In
balling and having
McAlpine's
fun.
Fusiliers, there's a line that says, "Woe to he who went to look for tea."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're gonna beat him up.
So I like these stereotypes. Actually, I like the stereotypes around Irish culture because I think that's what makes them cool and that's what makes them
You just
fun.
want to enjoy them without screaming Americans in your face.
I do. Yes. I would like to actually go to Ireland, and a friend of mine went to Ireland years ago, and he did a lot of video, and his cousin lives over there, and he went to see them and stuff, and they looked like the most fun, nicest people. And he said they are, like, they treat you like you are, like, even though he's only related to, 5 people over there, everybody treats you like your family because you're related to this guy and we're in the town with this guy and we know this guy and we love this guy. And it's like, well, if you're his cousin, you're our cousin too. And
Yeah, we're
get you
all
a pint.
related at
And
this point.
then you take a drink of the pint and it's warm. And you're like,
That's
what
why
the fuck
Matt
is
and I
this?
are not related and yet look identical. There's bald dudes with beards because the Irish.
Oh, me, Matt, not you.
I was gonna
Yeah.
Yeah, the Borders and I, all our listeners, you don't see that?
No, I
You
don't.
haven't seen this for 3.5 seasons?
Yeah,
We're
no,
twins.
I haven't seen that at all. But you and I do look like
I
we're at least
appreciate
cousins.
We just say
haven't seen
twinsies whenever we start our show. Twinsies.
We don't do that.
When we take a selfie, we say that instead of cheese.
Okay, we might have done that.
Twinsies.
Oh my goodness!
But so Gary Owen.
So one of my first connections to this was Mary Black sang a song called Patty's Lamentation. I actually heard it in Gangs of New York for the very first time, but it talks about basically coming over here and getting a musket in your hands and going to fight for Lincoln like right away. It's like, welcome to solid land. Sign right here. Thanks for joining the army. Matt, go ahead, but then I'm tossing it to Boris.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but now that you got me thinking about music, though, there are actually a lot of things that I think of as American songs, but are actually Irish songs.
Whiskey in the Jar, Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
Metallica. You have to give Metallica credit for that.
Damn straight.
But going back to Civil War, when Johnny Comes Marching Home.
Yep.
Ach, Johnny, we hardly knew ye.
Dude, Dropkick Murphy's version of Johnny, We Hardly Knew Ye, it rips. It absolutely rips.
I'll have to check that out. The Minstrel Boy.
Yep.
There's a good deal of them now that I'm thinking about it.
Dropkick Murphys is really good about doing this. They pick out songs like, Johnny We Hardly Knew You, Lanigan's Ball. They turned into Flanagan's or one or the other. They changed the name a little bit and made it a little more relevant to where they're from. But it is the song. From that Civil War soldiers would sing, and you're like, this is awesome.
We had there's a guy who the closing theme of our show is Gary Owen,
right?
And I had my friend back in Jersey who's a musician. I said, would you listen to this song and see if you can put your spin on it? I want a rock version of it. So he did, and that's the song that we use. And people were like, "Oh, we really like this. You should get him to do more." And so I said, listen, why don't you do a whole album of Civil War songs? And he was like, I don't usually take other people's ideas because people always give me ideas. And if it's not my idea, I can't do it well. And I totally understand that because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But he's like, I really love this idea because I had a lot of fun doing Gary Owen because I'd never heard the song. So I had to look into it. I had to find the lyrics. And I'm like, well, what the hell does all this mean? So I looked it up and so he did a whole album of Civil War songs. That just came out a month or two ago. No, actually on New Year's Eve, and it's really good.
What's
I think.
What's his name?
Billy Webster.
All right, plug it. Billy Webster. Look up this album.
Yeah, it's billysongs.com, and the name of the album is Marching Through Georgia.
Okay.
And I think you would like it. You'll have to. We'll listen to it later on.
Solid album title.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's my favorite song on the whole. Gary Owen's up there is my favorite, but Marching Through Georgia is a really cool. He did a really good job with that.
You did not come to love the song Gary Owen because of its connections to Irish music.
True. Custer. Of course.
I know you're a big Custer guy.
Yeah, there's that scene in They Died with Their Boots On where he's learning it around the piano with some guy I don't think actually existed. I can't remember the guy's name.
Buster Kilrain.
And the guy teaches him the song, and he's a young officer at this point, right? And then later when he has the power as the commander of the 7th Cavalry. Well, actually, I think he used it during the Civil War too, but whatever. Later on in the movie, at some point, he orders the band to learn it. And yeah,
I just was like, we got to make that connection. It's not often known to the larger circle that you're a Little Bighorn guy. That's one of your favorite battles to talk about. And since you do Civil War, you don't get to focus on it that much.
No, my favorite episode that we did was with Jim Hessler, who's also a Custer guy, and we did a Little Bighorn episode. And I was like, I don't care if anybody likes this. I'm having fun with it, but everybody, I think that's the one episode that everybody's like, I love your Little Bighorn episode.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned we had Hartwig on the show. When we had him, he mentioned that he doesn't really have a lot of the, when he gets to a lot of the physical battlefields that he's worked at or visited. But when he got to Little Bighorn, he's like, that's one that he's like, it just hit him.
Yeah, see, I haven't gone yet.
That's when he just
you need
to.
I
know.
Ben, it's an amazing sight.
I know. I can't. I mean, just the pictures I see look so desolate and lonely out there.
Matt, music, film, Matt. Music, film, TV.
I'm afraid I don't have a lot in regards to film other than the actors themselves. Huge actors, of course, coming out of Ireland. Peter O'Toole.
Oh, yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Wow. Great.
I mean, that's an epic, and he's Irish.
He was, and Richard Harris is the other one. They were, did you ever see them on Letterman telling stories about drinking with each other?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you got to.
Those stories are illegal now.
But they, somebody put together a compilation of them, and they were never on together, maybe a few times, but it would be like Richard Harris telling a story about drinking with Peter O'Toole, and then it's Peter O'Toole telling a story about, and sometimes they were, months apart from each other, so Dave would be like, yeah, we had Peter O'Toole on, and he said this, and he goes, don't believe him, and whatever.
You get like two versions of the story finally.
Yeah,
6 months to put
exactly.
together.
But go ahead,
when
I'm
it comes
sorry.
to, no, not at all. When it comes to music, David Kincaid, I love his Irish Brigade album in regards to songs.
What's your favorite song on there? Is it Private Maguire?
The problem is my favorite song on there is not it's a Civil War themed song, but it's not, period.
Is it Asher Khan Farewell?
I was just going to say.
It's not the
Please don't say
Farewell.
that.
No, it's, shoot, now I'm blanking on the name of it. But regardless, it's like one of the only songs on that album that is not historic, but it's really good. But Paul Patty's Lamentation is, as that you mentioned, is on there.
There's Matt's looking at the official track listing for David Kincaid's album right now. What do you got? Or is it not this album? Is it his other album?
No, it's this one. I think it's Boys of the Irish Brigade. I think that's the one that's actually not
It's
historic.
probably written by Don Henley.
But
After the boys of the Irish Brigade are gone.
Yeah.
After the boys of the Irish Brigade are gone.
It's like 6 o'clock on July 2nd in Wheatfield.
Just so you know,
on the field.
you've mentioned Don Henley's name, so we are now contractually obliged to pay him 37 cents.
Oh.
And he will shut down this show until we pay him
I'm
37
I'm
cents.
so sorry. I didn't mean to.
God damn it,
You did
Don.
that.
Okay.
I said
Yeah.
he did it.
my favorite
Checks in the mail, Don.
song, though, is probably one that we don't hear about as much in Civil War circles, is Rising of the Moon.
I am unfamiliar.
Rising of the Moon is about the 1798 uprising in
All right.
Ireland, and which culminates in the unsuccessful Battle of Vinegar Hill, which is also mentioned in Kincaid's songs, I think twice. But it's the Irish's fantastic, as a culture, fantastic ability to reach back to their history and bring it to the fore every single time.
That's because we have to, because right now sucks. Whatever right now is in Ireland, it sucks.
Yeah.
And
So we're
gotta
going to think about a time
yesterday.
that sucked even more
Yeah.
to help us get through this time.
Or did it suck less? Or that's what the song journey is.
But so what do you think is behind that? Because you're right. Like, we do kind of look at these past events, but they're all horrible.
I think
What's
you can
behind
find
that?
Element.
I think if you find a similarity to, since we're doing it now, since we're hyper focused on what the enslaved and post-enslaved experience is like in this country, when you get into the music of that culture, a lot of their music follows two paths. It's a lament, or it's full of this resounding hope.
Right,
think that
right.
that's-
And or resistance.
And resistance. Okay,
Sure.
Great. So I think that it's just I think that's a similarity you could draw between two subjugated peoples, is their music reflects, the basic experiences, where it's either this lamentation of another time where we weren't going through this, or it's this hope of when we're through this, what it will be like, or it's this, we're about to tear this mother effer down, kind of thing.
Well, and also, a lot of the songs are written in the time that the conflict is occurring, or the
Right.
bad thing is occurring, and then just passed down through the generation, so they become traditional songs. But it seems like the Irish do like to look back on something and go, "Oh, wasn't that horrible?" And "Oh, Shawnee McFinnigan is down on the hill," and it's but like.
Well, I mean, dude, Cowpie and Stu Soliers is one of the happiest, peppiest songs I know, but it's about the Irish navvies who just do nothing but backbreaking hard work, getting killed for just like poor to nothing wages. Like, it's the stuff they're singing about is not great, but if you hear the song, you're like, oh yeah,
Right.
it's
Well,
a
that's like Gary Owen.
Yeah.
It's like it's this rockin' song, even in the old style. It's a rockin' song.
Yeah, you're like, no, the song's
And it's
actually
it's basically about a gang. It's what it seems like to me. A gang of cutthroats.
Well, that's why I like Come Out Ye Black and Tans, because that is a song that was written, right during and after this whole experience of the Irish and the First World War, and then the establishment of the Free Irish State and then the Irish Republic, because they talk about winning medals down in Flanders. Come out and show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders, basically being like, oh yeah, you're so tough. Show her your medals. Come out and fight me kind of thing. And then they even say it in that song, like their hope is that they pass down this protest song and that their children's, sing it out with a verse or two of this fine chorus kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they hold on to it. They pass it along. Parker, you have been very quiet this episode because I don't know, are there Irish people in Maine?
Yeah, actually, fun story about that. Actually, there was once upon a time, New England was actually referred to as New Ireland, or at least a part of it was.
Was this while it was New France at the same time?
It was
Canada.
You're sitting under a Canadian.
Yeah. This is for real. It was a contested
Parker's
over.
part of New England was Canada.
It's true.
Well,
France.
yes. Yes and no.
But
contested, hotly contested.
Where was Little Ireland or whatever you just called it?
It was
New Ireland.
kind of a greater region. It consumed part of New Brunswick, some of Maine, definitely northern Maine. Kind of went down to the Castine area a little bit. And I don't know all there is to know about this, but it was around that same time. It's not really a heavily talked about subject, but if you go back far enough before they called it New England, they called it New Ireland.
Interesting.
It's interesting because of course a lot of the settlers were coming. They were seeking refuge away from getting murdered. They had good reasons to leave.
Calling it what now? Oh no.
I've always wondered. I've always wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive into it just for my own sake. I've had this theory because of what was going on in England. At the time they were calling it. Now this is Parker theory. This is not history. I want to make that very clear.
Do we have to ban this in school too? Parker theory?
No, this is just my theory. My theory was
CPT, critical Parker theory.
Republicans are seething.
It's a very simple theory.
I don't even know what it is. Ban it. Ban it right now.
It's a theory. It's not a fact.
Bastards.
It's a very simple theory that the reason why they were calling it New England, New
why
Ireland,
Parker was founded,
and I also think it had to do with kind of the terrain and who was there at the time. You mentioned already that France was there. France was in Castine. We've had a guest on here from
France had an Irish brigade.
What's that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they did.
France?
They sure did, and
Napoleon
they were also. What religion are the French?
Catholics.
Bingo. Now the Catholics were trading in Castine, and they were trading in that area. They were trading very freely with the Native Americans. They had a pretty good relationship. Madawakando's grandson, he was a chief. His grandson would be Chief Joseph Orono. Orono is the city where the current University of Maine Orono sits, right?
I hope that's where Maine Orono sits and not somewhere else.
Right. Well, they
no sense.
What I'm saying is they had the French traders, the French Catholic traders had a really good reputation and a really good camaraderie with the natives who were there at the time. And my guess is that the Irish did as well. And when the English kind of started taking over, what did the English? Are the English Catholics at this time? Negatory, Big Ben. They are
Protestant.
Definitely Protestant. So basically,
bastards.
My thinking is that the New Ireland dream kind of dissipated when the Protestant fires hit.
All right.
That's my theory. It's a series of theories.
It's banned in school now. So you can't.
That's good. You shouldn't teach something that isn't you can't back up the fact. I guess.
Parker, this is a very exciting moment for you.
It is
as far as the History Things podcast. You don't get many opportunities to talk about this subject on the show, but if we were to ask you about one of your favorite Irish, I don't know, movies, actors, music, I don't know, it can be one of those three.
Oh,
you're gonna probably pick somebody related to a subject that we never talk about here, I imagine.
That would probably be the Titanic, right?
Either that, well, that would be the one people expect, to be honest. People expect Titanic.
The real Titanic, Matt.
Oh, not the
real
movie.
Titanic.
All right. Well, I didn't think
First
you were
of
going to
all,
start there. Well,
you don't have
a
Titanic. You don't have a Titanic without Ireland. You don't have a White Star Line, at least not in the shape that it looks.
Yeah.
Without the myriad of Irish laborers who worked and bled and even died while constructing
That's right.
these ships.
Sure.
So shout out to anybody who is listening now, who is a descendant, relative, whatever, of someone who worked at Harlan and Wolff. Shout out to you guys, and please keep that history flame alive.
This goes out to the survivors.
Yeah. It's as far as movie, a movie I'm going to pick here is got to be Night to Remember.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's on brand.
Yeah, and that's on brand for me. I was going to say that's kind of on
Well,
brand.
that's why
for me.
I didn't think we were going to start on brand because I was going to go somewhere else. But if we're going to start on brand, let's do it.
I'm going to start on brand
All
because because
Hell
here's
you
the thing.
talking about starting on brand.
Well, because I'm the
I
Titanic
don't get
guy.
hipster talk, even though I'm a hipster. I don't get hipster speak.
So on brand would mean like if my name was Mr. Hershey, you'd probably expect me to talk about chocolate.
Sure, okay.
And I'm
you're
a
Mr.
very
Titanic.
large mammal,
Yes.
so I talk about big objects, and the Titanic is a big object.
Okay.
No, I in season 1, you may remember hearing a very young, very handsome, 185-pound historian.
Very naive.
Yeah, very, very naive.
Very
I was actually 12 years younger than Pat at the time.
At the time.
It was weird.
time.
I've aged in 4 years.
4
I've
years ago,
aged,
you're
like,
12 years younger.
Yeah,
That's
that's right.
amazing.
That's right.
Parker's 68.
That's what working in this show has done to me. That
It's
is
like
what it
being
does.
president.
That's it. That's it. Anyway,
Without the nuclear codes.
Right.
wait. I don't have nuclear codes.
You know you don't.
No, we didn't tell him that. I mean, yeah, you do, buddy. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was told.
That briefcase you're handcuffed to totally has the codes.
Oh, well.
Matt,
That's
shut
not
up.
just your lunch. Okay, anyway, so yeah, Night to Remember. The producer of that film was a guy by the name of William McQuitty. And
That's a made-up name. McQuitty.
it is. Yeah, that's his name.
It's like Shawnee McFittigan or whatever.
I am
Just,
Well, no,
I-
to
I'm
be
the
honest,
Quickie
my
Mike
new
Jones.
favorite song, I want to say that my new favorite song is Don Henley's version of Shawnee McFlanagan standing on a hill. Shawnee McFlanagan.
No, McFinnigan,
standing on a
McFinnigan.
hill. McFinnigan, whatever.
yeah. And he was dying on the hill.
Yeah.
He's not standing there?
He's
He's standing
He's
there.
hanging there. The English hanged him.
Well,
Shawnee McFinnigan hanging on the hill.
That's
The Irish
it.
hanged him from a cherry tree.
That's it.
Do they have cherry trees over there? Probably not.
That's the new one. But William McQuitty, he's the producer. He's born in Ireland. He's born in Belfast. And he is when he is 6 years old, he watches the Titanic launch. And when he is 7 years old, he watches it sail out. Like he's there in the crowds watching them peel off for their one and only trip that didn't even make it. Right.
Mhm.
And that seeing that as a little kid inspired him when he was a much older guy, obviously, to produce the movie Night to
Yeah.
Remember. Hearing some of his interviews, it's no secret. It's one of my greatest. It is personally one of my favorite films of all time. And here's the thing about it: if they called the name of the ship the McPoopy Pants,
Mhm.
it would still be an amazing movie. It's not because it's a Titanic movie that's
Sure.
great. It's because it's a great dramatic piece.
So could you imagine though, like people talking about the night the McPoopy Pants
That's why
sank?
it's called the Night to Remember.
That's it.
About pooping your pants.
They were having that cheese, so it's really a miracle they were
They
pooping
hit
at
the
all. They had so
iceberg
much
and
cheese
they were
in
like,
the cheese.
"Oh Jesus!"
Anyway,
Leonardo DiCaprio,
anyway,
Kate
great film.
Winslet
Shit,
in
yes.
McPoopy Pants.
James Cameron's
James Cameron's
McPoopy
McPoopy
Pants. I remember the night. I remember the night when I dropped that diamond off the back of the McPoopy Pants, the RMS McPoopy Pants.
Oh God, Richard
Hang
Jordan.
on, Jack.
Richard Jordan in Raising the McPoopy Pants.
I can't
Raise the
see him as
Titanic.
anything
That's
other
it,
than-
raise-
Did you just reference Raise the Titanic?
I did, but I messed up
All right,
the name.
I quit. I officially quit. No,
Did you ever
kudos
see
for.
that?
Oh, I
That's
see.
the worst.
Alec
It is
Guinness
one
is
of
in
the.
that.
Alec Guinness is in
Yeah,
that?
he is. Yeah,
You
he
are
is.
right. He is in that. He is absolutely in that. Yes, he is. I'm pretty sure you're right on that. He is.
No, he is.
No, he
It's
is, yeah.
You're pretty sure you're right. He freaking
Matt's
is.
like, "I will fight you." He's in the.
No,
fucking movie.
I'm watching it in my head now. I'm seeing. I'm trying to place who he is, and you're right. So that movie was weird.
But you know what
man.
I love? You know what so I watched it for the first time last year,
Oh yeah.
and
I'm so sorry.
You know what? Well, I was watching it for
The
what
miniature was
reason?
nice. Miniature was good.
Wait, but this is okay. When they actually raise it, right?
Yes.
It's intact.
Yeah.
Because it was made before they discovered it.
Exactly.
Correct. So anyway, where was I? What was I talking?
You were ranting.
You're talking about Titanic again.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Raise the
If
Titanic.
we're not talking about Maine, it's probably Titanic or Star Trek, which we're getting.
By
to
the
that one.
way,
yes.
Irish actor
Cole
This is where I thought we were
Meany.
going.
Oh!
Funky
Cole Meany.
Funky Cole Meany?
Yeah.
I thought this is where we were going.
Meany.
Cole Meany is my Star Trek reference of the evening because I mean, why not?
Great Irish.
Oh, yeah?
He's
How
a great
about
Irish
this?
actor. He's-
Kevin Meany.
How about this? You're a meanie. Matthew Calorie.
But, no,
Matthew
it's-
Calamini.
I just-
Italian man.
It's my Italian
We are
name.
almost at the end of this train wreck, people.
Oh, boy. Bear with
Or
us, folks.
shipwreck.
Promise you. Yeah,
Anyway.
shipwreck. It's Parker's turn on the mic, so
Yeah.
it's a shipwreck right now.
Wow. Great. Thanks, Pat.
No, this whole thing is off the rails, buddy. So Cole Meany, though,
Yeah.
I like because Cole Meany to me is Thomas Durant, the proprietor of the Union Pacific Railroad and the show Hell on Wheels.
Wheels.
Hell on
But
Wheels,
to
yeah.
Parker, Cole Meany is like the natural
Miles
successor
O'Brien.
to Scotty, because
Absolutely.
that is the sales pitch he makes to me whenever we talk about this. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Cole Meany as your favorite Irish
Yeah.
stereotype in Star Trek land.
Wow.
Gene-
Well, really,
Gene
can I
Roddenberry
just wrap
hates
up Titanic?
the Irish.
Really, can I just really
Yes,
wrap
yes.
up Titanic really quick
Wrap
because
it up.
they did a really good. What I think they did a really good job of in Night to Remember, and what I think William McQuitty got correct in there. Again, histocracy, if that's a word, is aside.
Historiography.
Historiography.
Whatever it is, that word that Don Henley's going to write a song about.
Yeah. This is the end.
Guys, we're up over
This
$1.
is the end of the
We're over $1 at this
historiography.
point. Stop saying his name.
So, Don Henley, you're great. I love
Yeah.
you.
Me too.
Please come on our show.
Parker's like, I just wrote you a check for $10. Don Henley, Don Henley, Don Henley. Don Henley.
Yeah. Look, please come on our show. You know about the history of music. You're there. Please be our guest. We'll interview.
Cole Meany, he was
Cole
in The Commitments, Last of the Mohegans,
He's
Die
in
Hard
Last of the
2,
Mohegans?
He's a
Dick
huge
Tracy.
actor,
Yeah,
He's been in a lot of shit.
Who was he in Last
The
of the
Road to
Mohegans?
Wellville, Last of the Mohegans, he was Major Ambrose.
You're right.
Yeah, I know I'm right. I'm always right.
But what I think Night to
You didn't
Remember
say it
got
with as
right.
much conviction as Matt Borders did a minute ago. You should be like, no, I am right.
Yeah, well,
And then challenge me to a fight.
we just have different deliveries.
What I think he got right. What I think they got right though with Night to Remember, as far as like the they painted the Irish folks there. Yes, they were poor, but they had a great spirit, and they weren't like overly stereotyped. I liked it. I thought they did a really good job with it. And then Cole Meany on Star Trek is just like I said to you earlier, Pat. He's the natural successor to Scotty, and I think. I mean, James Doohan is Scotty. Who can forget that, right? I mean,
You're right.
Scotty's character.
World War II veteran.
World War II, actual Canadian war hero. But the only person to have ever appeared is what they've said they kind of are, I guess, in a weird way, on Star Trek is Cole Meany. Like, Montgomery Scott, obviously, was a Scotsman, and the actor who played him was a Canadian. Cole Meany is actually, like that's this legitimate Irish person who's playing an Irish.
What a cool
character.
name, too. Colm.
I know, that's a really cool name. And Miles O'Brien's really cool. I love the way he looks at his bosses on the Enterprise sometimes is the way I've looked at some of my bosses in the past. Like they tell them to do something crazy,
On
you
this
know?
podcast,
Like they tell you to do something crazy and you just look at him and go, okay.
All right.
Like he's willing to do it, and I just love the way he just just a great attitude, great character.
Well,
Miles O'Brien all day.
all right. Well, before I wrap this up for us here, Maddie Calorie
Yes,
today.
Patty.
No, I'm going to say Maddie. I'm talking to Maddie B. Borders across the way, but it flows.
It's
so
Maddie
well.
C.
Do you have any parting words on either the Irish, the holiday, your show, any of that?
Well, I would like to thank you for inviting me, thinking of me, and inviting me here. I very rarely get to go on other people's shows, so I enjoy coming on other people's shows where I don't have to do all the work. It did. I don't think that went unnoticed. And
That's what I was waiting for. It's like, oh, I know it did.
yeah, I know Eric was on last year.
Would be very fair to us. You are
A very busy man.
non-committal to your own talents as a storyteller.
I
don't know what that
Every
means.
time we try to be like, Matt, let's get you on to talk, you're like, I want to let the experts and the guests.
Yeah, I don't pose as an expert. I'm not an expert. That's why I
That's
don't.
who we talk to.
What?
All right? We only talk to the experts.
Well, I'm an expert
what
on
the
myself.
Hell are you doing here?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. No, but anyway, thank you for having me on. It's always fun to do this. I love your studio. It's very nice.
Thanks. You like the Resolute desk? This is our
your Resolute
we
desk?
We have Resolute desks.
We
our
do.
shows.
We have matching. Oh, that's right. We do.
We have matching desks.
You ripped off my design.
I did. I did.
But Eric did some improvements on it, though. I see a couple of things here, and also it's a little lower than mine, which I want to cut mine down a bit. It's too high.
Eric asked how when we were building ours, he was like, ours is taller, and I was like, I sit lower. Like I don't want to be on a stool. Like
right.
I like to sit in a
I'm
chair.
getting sick of the stools. I want these type of chairs, but this is still too high for me. I want to go a little lower. Yeah, like a desk, basically. Yeah,
for sure.
So when I'm moving into a new studio sometime this year, and when I do, I'm going to cut a couple inches off of each leg.
I wish that I could have flexed really hard on you right now, because like the real Resolute desks have like all the cool drawers,
carvings and drawers and stuff.
I wanted to be like, oh, and like tap our desk, and then like some hidden compartment awesome. Slides out.
Yeah,
and there's like a gun in it. And you're
like,
Nicholas,
great.
And then Nicolas Cage comes along and tries to steal something out of it.
Yeah,
distract him. So anyway, thank you. Secondly, this was fun, and of course, all the Irish Americans out there. If you're offended by me saying I don't like Irish Americans, A, as Pat says, good. B, then you're really not really Irish, or really American, frankly.
Yeah.
Because if you were either one of those for real, you would also hate Irish Americans. And I don't hate Irish Americans. And I'm also, people go, oh, you're just a self-hating Mick. No, I'm not a self-hating Mick.
But also, yes,
I'm an American.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay. I'm an American. Number one. No. And then also, so whatever. I don't know what I just said on there, but let's take that.
Number five.
Number five. Number 5, Parker, I'm jealous of your hair.
Oh.
Number 6, well, because you have it.
Oh.
Number 1, but also it's got a nice, flow to it and everything. I wish I could grow hair.
This cappy hair. All
True
night,
story.
So.
Parker needs a haircut every time I see him.
Yeah, no, he's just got a thick head of hair.
I could see him on back-to-back days, including the day he got a haircut, and the very next day he would need a haircut. Like
this is actually the truth.
And his beard grows so
fast.
Damn fast.
Yeah.
Like you, follically challenged on the top.
Yep.
It blows me how often he needs a haircut.
I know. Yeah.
Is it okay though? Like I should.
No, I like it. No, I really do like it. That was a real compliment.
Oh, thank you very much.
And finally, for those of you who are interested in the Battle of Gettysburg and laughter and fun, and also what goes on in Gettysburg today, because we do a live stream on YouTube where we discuss all that. Follow us. Go to addressinggettysburg.com and you can find out everything you need to find out from there. You can just follow the links to all the different platforms, or just go anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, when you listen to platforms, do you like high platforms or low platforms?
I prefer somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Because I like the thrill of heights, but I don't want to be up too high because I'm afraid of falling.
Good. I'm trying to clarify that.
But yeah, no. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find Addressing Gettysburg, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to come to your audience and share that with them, because it's always good to do.
Well, we'll get you back here sooner now that we've got ourselves established and figured out here. We'd love to have you back soon.
Well, now it's time for you three to come back up on our show.
You want to bring Parker?
Yeah.
So Parker
great.
is the man?
Yeah, why not?
For your show, Parker is definitely the guy, because Parker's got pop culture, music, like Parker's the guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not even going to come now. Parker, I'm just going to send Parker in my
All right,
stead.
well, Parker, forget both of these. You come on up.
You take
all right.
you take our producer.
Listen,
No,
I will
I don't
leave the
poach.
show for
He's
double
gonna
what they're
poach
paying me
from
right now.
That's so
If you
funny.
double their salary, which is still pretty low, I understand.
I'll give you $2.
That is
a 200% raise, sir. Don't do that live on our air.
He's
You
like,
heard it,
done.
folks. This is a live labor dispute. How Irish is that?
Yes, we're ending up with the labor dispute. Unions, you bastard. All right, look, for those of you out there in the History Things land, if you were looking for a real deep lesson on Irish history,
I tried.
stay tuned. Well, first of all, Matt, you did very well. Thank you on short notice for putting together your notes on the Irish Civil War observations and on the history itself of St. Patrick's Day.
And we have a show with Maddie and Patty on it, and Matt does full
I mean, he
Irish
gets
stuff.
in the weeds on basically what we just danced around here in our show here. He gets really in depth on the subject matter. So
And Pat and I behave ourselves a lot better on that show. Yeah, well, more than we did on this one.
But if you're looking for a big lesson on that, it's still to come from the History of Things podcast. We are going to get into this subject, but we very carefully, like always, want to craft the right story for you so you get the best information and the best entertainment simultaneously. And we're just not quite there yet with the Irish Republic story. But it is St. Paddy's Day, and for us here in the United States, we focus a lot more on the fun than the history and the reverence, and that's kind of what we wanted to do here in this episode, was just have a good time with you, hang out as friends, do one of our usual let our hair down, especially Matt Callery and I let our hair down, since we have the most hair out of everybody in this studio, and just kind of have some fun, talk movies, talk film, talk a little bit of history. So if you're looking for the Irish in the military world, you can go back to when they repel the Viking, the Norman invasions in the 800s and 900s. You can look to the Irish Brigade and Napoleon's armies in the late 18th and early 19th century. You can find our very own, near and dear to our heart, Irish Brigade and the American Civil War. You can also find the Irish all over the First World War on both sides of the wire. And as the former Irish Brigade store in Gettysburg had a very cool photo of, the Irish Brigade even made its way to the battlefield in Afghanistan in some modern 21st century capacity. So more of that to come from us. Go ahead. You got one more?
I got a question. Have you ever heard, Maddie, or anybody, that the Notre Dame is known as the Fighting Irish? And now this is the story I heard. Father Corby, Irish Brigade, blah blah blah. Then he goes and he's like president of Notre Dame or something like that. Founds it.
I thought he was just president.
I thought so too.
I believe he helps found the actual university.
Well,
he's important at its youngness.
He's important at its youngness, right? And they're having a football game, early days of football. And he goes in to do a little prayer and everything like that. And he says,
"Win one for the Gipper."
Win one for the Gipper. That's what he says.
No.
That's exactly what he said. No, he goes, now you are the Fighting Irish.
From what I understand, yes.
Is that true? I always thought that was one of those myths that they tell at Gettysburg.
One of those stories. Yeah. And from what I understand, that's as good as we're going to get on that one.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that, but I definitely always knew that it had connections to the real Fighting Irish. So.
Right.
Very cool. Well, if there's anybody that can bestow that, it's Corby. I mean, Corby can now dub you.
That's what I'm saying.
If we say it, it's like whatever. But if Corby says it, you're like, we are.
Right.
Corby called us that.
Right.
We can
do
exactly. We want now.
Exactly.
But anyway, in all seriousness, to wrap it up, I mean, there's tons of amazing moments in history where the Irish are, even star players or perhaps just the best supporting characters that are ever gracing the planet of the earth here. The Irish, maybe the best, most superior people ever. Said no one ever.
There's a couple of books that say that.
I mean, let's be real. As a joke to leave you with, I think somebody pointed out that, like, if you look at the Wikipedia for notable Irish inventions, it's like whiskey and then nothing for like 300 years.
Right.
And it's like, what happened?
Right.
We know what happened there, people. But anyway, always look, for everybody here at the History of Things podcast, for our guest today, Matt Callery, host of the Addressing Gettysburg podcast, for our producer Parker, and for my co-host Matt Borders. We love you guys. We love that you hang out with us through all the serious, really heavy stuff we talk about in our main episodes, and we love that you hang out with us through some of the sillier fun times we have when we hang out with our friends. And we do hope you get up north either in person and see the mayor of Gettysburg and have him buy you lunch. And Matt will buy me lunch. No, Matt will buy me lunch. Either see him in person or get out to one of his get out of the car tours. Is the 2023 schedule public yet?
It is. AddressingGettysburg.com. Every month except for July.
Battle anniversary. Take that month off.
We take it off because it's about that point I get exhausted. So there's that. Also, it's hot as hell.
And it's anniversary.
But we do it the third Saturday of every month. Honestly, most people are on vacation at the beach or somewhere else that we have the lowest number we have is in July. So we're all like, fuck it, let's just take it off, because it ruins our average, number one, and we're too tired. So July and December I take off.
That's smart.
Because I don't get weekends.
Mid-year, end year, I'm with it.
Yeah.
I'm with it. Well, look for all of us to do a lot of coverage of the Gettysburg 160th anniversary later this summer. I'm sure, Matt, that is a huge thing on your books already.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to be a tourist for the I was going to do a documentary, but I got too busy. But By the way, have you seen Kunk on Earth?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Clips of it. I've not watched the full episode, but it's amazing.
Go on Netflix. It's the greatest thing you've ever seen in
The
your life.
clips I've seen. Why do they call it World War One? Did they think that was a little strange unless it was starting a franchise? Oh, yeah. No. It was great.
Yeah.
Great.
She's the best.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, have you?
I'm not
is
familiar with
is this the lady I just shared the other day talking about Spears? It's the
is that
redheaded.
The British woman,
Yes, she is hilarious.
She's freaking great. And she's like, I have such a crush on her.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Michelangelo's statue.
Oh, David.
The model didn't have an anus.
Yes. She goes through all the detail that he did, the veins pumping blood to his statue hands. But if you go around to the back, you'll find that David doesn't have an anus.
Yeah, man, it's the most perfect BBC voice ever. It's great.
She's great. Anyway, I'm not going to say it, but anyway, yeah.
We'll save that for another day. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. And as we did with Matt's show, he put me on the spot. In fact, we're going to bring this full circle. When we were on Addressing Gettysburg a couple years ago to do our St. Patty's Day show up there, Matt put me on the spot and was like, give me a good Irish blessing, right? Because that's apparently something that all Irish people should be able to do. So first of all, I'm going to toss it to you.
Let's all raise our glasses.
I'm going to toss it to you, Matt
Cue the
Calorie. You are going to get the penultimate blessing to sign off the show before I take us home, but go for it.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yours.
All right. May the road rise to meet your scrot. And may your love be carried across the sea by boat. But never forget who loves you most, the man who raises the glass for a toast.
Okay.
Amen.
Sláinte.
And sláinte. I don't know, I just made that up. That wasn't as good.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for the History Things podcast, we will get out of here with the official blessing of the History Things podcast. I say, now may your voice, and you'll appreciate this, Matt, since you're like me, a man behind a microphone here. May your voice be golden, may your ears be sharp, and may your microphone be off when ye have to fart. We love you all. Thank you for listening to the History Things podcast, St. Patrick's Day episode. We do hope you enjoy the rest of season 4. Big stuff coming up for you here with the rest of the first half of season 4. And then really going to take the brakes off like we always do, Matt, and get downhill boogie in when things get on the second half here. So we love you. We will catch you all later.
Good night. When we safely landed, called me a fool. I could no longer stand in blood.